Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this little recap podcast we're doing. This will be mostly focused on talking about our favorite moments from the campaign. This takes place up until session 25, so spoilers for anything there or before. We all wrote down questions for each other and we're taking turns answering them, and that's the general idea, but if you want to see another one in the future, feel free to submit questions and we will definitely include them. If you're enjoying the campaign so far or want to talk about D&D, One Piece, or anything like that in general, feel free to join the Discord, linked in the description and the pinned comment. We have a bit of a community in there already and we'd love to have you on the discussion. Also, if you're not already subscribed, please do so, as it really helps with feedback and getting the videos out there. Anyway, I hope you enjoy.
So how is Yap gonna work? Like, do we just go through them?
What if we just went through like the first of each person's? So it's not all of them in a row. And then we went to the second of each person's.
Okay, but some people here were really greedy and they asked like a gazillion questions.
Did they?
Who?
Am I stupid?
Not me.
Well, there's this guy here. He's
Not
called
me.
Evan. He has 6, which is more than anyone else.
Wait, I can fix this,
He's gonna melt one of them into 2.
Shut up!
What do you do? Hold on.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, you're a bad man, Evan. And that's maybe the worst thing I've said about you ever.
I'm
double
shaking.
bad. So, first question, how is everyone's day?
Yeah.
Alright, awesome. So, do I roll a 1d4 as to which question pool comes up is what I'm wondering. I think that's what I should do.
You should do that.
Between each of us. Alright, I'm doing that. Alright, 1d4, we're doing overlay. So I'm 4, Niamh's 1, Kira you're 2, and Avary you're 3.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have bets on who's going to be first?
Avary.
What?
Actually, no. I should guess Niamh.
Not me.
3, 2, 1. Always. Alright. So, first question. If your character was to die next session, how ready is your backup? So
I don't think this is a good start.
by the time we'll have this will be at the end of the circus, and we'll be going into more like specific character arcs after that. So I guess just like imagine if your character was to die in the next session, how much have you cooked for your backup? How would you feel about a character death at this point in the campaign? I guess is also a part of that.
Yeah, I
What do you
mean,
think?
it's my question, so that's kind of what I thought. Since we rolled D4 and I was the one and we got the one,
Yeah.
it's my question. So just like go ahead and guys do whatever. I can go for it. Like I don't care. Actually,
Yeah, go for it. Go for
I didn't know why I asked the question. Really, like God. All right, well I start then.
Sure, this is not one I
my
can
question.
answer, unfortunately.
You know, it's because in case we like roll another dice, then it ends up to see who answers it, and ends up being me again. Like I'll just save us the trouble.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't actually have an answer though. Yeah. I'm so ready. I'm not actually that ready. I'm like moderately ready. It's kind of like a thing where like I've had a character in mind for like probably I think before we even started campaign. I was like, oh, this will be my backup. And then like and I have like decent idea of like class and like race and kind of visual appearance as well. Honestly, probably better than like my idea of like what Alta looks like at this point. I guess the thing is, I would probably change some of those stuff depending on like if another character, if another backup came in and I thought it was too similar or something. I do think I'm at that point where I would pivot.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I'm fairly committed. But I tried making I've tried making the character sheet like a bunch of times. But Roll20 copy and pasting has gotten the better of me like every single time.
Yeah.
I've probably come pretty close, but I'm just kind of like I just be like, why am I doing this?
At this point, if any of your characters died, I would just offer to do that for you guys because I've done it so many times myself.
I probably have it like half done, you know,
Yeah.
a couple places, so I can just finish it off. But it's like, oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm doing it and I'm like, oh, there's not a real purpose, I'm like, why am I doing this? But I think I've designed someone where I honestly think they make like a pretty easy transition, if that makes sense. And that's one thing I'm happy about, where I think if Alta was to die, I feel like it would be a pretty easy transition into my next character just because of how I'd set it up. Maybe not as easy now as I thought it would have been like a few sessions ago, but I feel like, yeah, I feel like it'd be all right.
I feel like this is also the second part would be like, how would you feel, or how would you feel going into a backup character if your character was to die next session? I guess for Alta that is the most awkward timing. Like, sure, she did get to go to the circus.
Yeah,
But
I
she's
think
so
it's
close
not
to
a
what-
great
you know.
time. I think a few sessions ago, I think like if Alta had died around like the shit that was happening in Logetown, I think that was probably the best time for her to go out. Like so far, if I had to pick a time for her to go out, because she basically like cause like all this insane chaos, and then if she pulled essentially the death card, it'd be like, okay, well that's kind of her time. You know what I mean? It's like she's done all this, and now she gets to bow out. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't think it's a great time for her to go,
sure.
especially because she's making all these like lofty promises where she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna save the whole islands, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that." I just think it would be kind of awkward, and I'm not sure. I will say, even though I think my backup would be an easy transition when it comes to like, showing up and stuff like that, I'm not sure. 100% sure about stuff like carrying on all the plot threads and things like that. Some of them maybe, but a lot where I'm just kind of like, okay, well that kind of stuff might just have to go unresolved, or I have to hope that Ferrum and Belladonna would like pick it up or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I think it's I think right now is probably a bad time for her to go out, I suppose, if she did die. Like, I don't think it'd be a hard transition, but like, I think it is. Actually, no, it probably would be a hard transition if we're going up to the fucking Sky Islands.
Yeah,
But,
it's also weird because I think
like-
the way the characters are now, they're all close enough that all of them would in some way finish each other's goals. But if you have a backup character that's there, they're just like, well, they should be doing this, or like it makes sense that they would. But for the sake of the campaign, you want your backup character to have their share of the story, and that can't really happen unless you're adding more and more and more arcs, you know?
Yeah,
So
no,
that's a thing
exactly.
you
I
don't really
agree with
wanna run
that.
into.
Like
Yeah.
they would have like I do have like a whatever plot in mind or something for my backstory, but my backstory, my backup. But yeah, obviously that would just have to kind of layer on to other stuff, and you don't know if it could work. It could work, could not work.
I think if a PC was to die on the very cusp of something like that, it would be like whatever like the big bad was, or the most like basic element would still probably have to be dealt with, but I would not make like an arc out of it, I guess. I would make it more of like you find a group of people that are more well suited to deal with all the Sky Island stuff that Alta would have done, and but your share of like helping Alta take down this big bad or something might still need to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that.
yeah. I mean, that sounds good. I don't think it's impossible. Like, if she dies, like I said, I don't think it's the end of the world or anything like that.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame, but like, I think there could still be some cool stuff. Now, having said that, still don't know about a voice. That's the thing that's really getting me. I won't lie. I'm sitting there just like pondering. I was like this with Alta as well. Like 5 minutes for session 0, I was like, fuck it, she's gonna have an English accent. I did not give her an English accent. So, you know.
That's what all the people who are in
Figure
there are
it
gonna
out.
have.
I mean, Evan, do you think we would have those kind of like solo session 0s if we were to get a backup?
I think
Like, for
I'd
that
probably.
character?
I think I'd do something like that just for like. I'd play like. Either like I'd play like maybe like the moments before they realize that they have to approach this crew or like a crew, or I would play it like a bit of their backstory. I'd probably do something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
cool.
I don't want anyone
I mean,
coming in, because it's hard to join a dynamic and rebuild one from halfway, and I would also not want someone to like not have the greatest grasp on like their character's backstory, or like while being recorded have to do the first time they've ever done that character's voice.
No, yeah, that would be brilliant. I think
Yeah.
then at least if I could
So-
go in and be like, okay, at least I
Yeah.
know what this individual's
So if
like. You know
a
what I
character
mean?
died, I'd 100%, I'd have a session just with the 2 left over, and it would be like maybe a shorter session just so you feel the bit of a void,
Okay.
and then I would have just a session 0 that I would not record for the
That's
new
awesome.
character.
Yeah. No, that's cool. No, obviously I don't want Alton to die or anything, and I could be like, but I have thought a lot about the backup, and also I think it might be a thing where it actually just doesn't work, and it does work in my head, and that's I'll talk about that later when it comes to Alta, because I got that a lot with Alta.
I get you.
But I don't know. I'm excited for them if it
Yeah.
happens, but hopefully it won't.
Yeah.
Or if it does,
Hopefully.
you know, it'll be after Alta like does all this like shit that's relevant to her.
Yeah, for sure.
And she actually like after she's like promising all these kids stuff, like I don't really want her to die, but it's so fine.
Kara, what about you and Belladonna?
Well, I'd
See, my issue is that I don't really have like any big plans for my backup as of yet. I kind of just have like her personality, her vibe. I know her race and
real.
her.
Sorry.
I know her race and I know her class. And like she's a character who like a part of me really wants to play her, but I would never want to say goodbye to Belladonna. I'm having a lot of fun with Belladonna.
Yeah, I feel that.
I also like I don't know like what her grand goal would be. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of have like cool vibes at the minute. You know, I don't have like I know her voice. I know kind of how she would look. But I don't have like big massive plans for her. So I feel like she's like pretty adaptable to come into the story whenever, but like Belladonna has such cool vibes and she's got such cool like I feel like she's got like such cool stuff coming up that is like so me as well. Like I'm really excited for some of the stuff that's coming up specifically for Belladonna. So like I get you in that like I wouldn't want to drop that, but I can't. There's no like reasonable reason why I would like task like when I'm making a new character and they're supposed to be completely different. I can't task like my backup character with Belladonna's goals. You know what I mean?
I'm just thinking it would be really funny if all 3 PCs do survive the campaign. I'd love to do a recorded one shot, which is something like you guys playing as your backups with an impromptu team up trying to survive the Logtine attack or something like that. I think that'd be very funny.
I'd love to get the chance, like to.
Yeah, I'd like to premiere them if they don't get a shout or like talk about them at the end of what our plans would be. What do you think about if Belladonna was to die next session? What would the changes be?
I would be so mad.
Yeah.
I think I would cuss you out, I think. But
I'd
like
sleep on the sofa.
Yes. I feel like it would depend on how she goes out, you know what I mean? I feel like if she had a cool enough death, maybe I'd be fine with it. But...
If she died eating the egg last session, would that have been cool?
No. If she just exploded next to Oddwa on their first date? No.
Died to egg.
Many such cases.
I think the Logtine is a good example of like, if you do die there, you at least know you contributed to like something in universe pretty huge.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good time to go out.
I feel like the best time for a character to die is like in a monumental fight.
Yeah. Like even if it was another character's like arc, I guess, like if you're fighting like the big bad of that and you know that it's like what you're doing is like saving or changing the world in some way, like dying there, you can't be that mad, you know?
Yeah, if Alta had died fighting those like moles, I couldn't have been mad, you know? It was monumental.
Yeah, the moles were crazy and very relevant to the plot.
They had a net.
They did have a net.
What was I meant to do?
What about Ferrum, Avery? What are you thinking?
Ferrum dies. I'm entering like a 3-week mourning period, and then I'm taking like 2 weeks to decide which of the 15 guys that are swirling around in my head that actually fit into what I want to do. Because like Ferrum was a backup for a different thing that like I didn't need to use, and then I was like, oh, this guy's so cool, and then he did not turn out to be very cool for a long time. More on that later. I think if he died like next session, I'd be so upset and angry that it would take me ages to settle on like the next thing, right?
Yeah. It feels like either thing of like you want a really big break after that, or you would just like almost like angrily pick your next one and be like, no, let's just get it over with, you know? Not really be happy with what you picked, I guess. I feel like that's how I would do if I got mad at my guy dying. I'd be like, fuck it, I'm just picking this guy and it's fine.
Yeah, it's whatever, man. Like
I don't even care.
Fucking playing a human fighter and it's okay. Like, I've had a few guys. I've mentally like gone through and clocked out of like 4 backups at least in Evan's DMs. And, they do keep piling up. And I'm on one that I think is kind of cool now. Will that be the same thing in like 2 months' time? Probably not.
Okay, but what if Ferrum dies next session?
If Ferrum dies next session, well, I'm going to be really upset for him and his stupid dumb boyfriend. And I'm going to write stupid yaoi and get really upset. Like, what do you
what
want from
happens
me?
to Incas?
I'd
would he go?
I'd probably,
I mean, that
I'd
is up
probably
to
cry
me, but
thinking about him.
yeah,
It is up to you, and you do something fucked up and evil. Probably. I don't know.
yeah, maybe.
I fear the angst would be
I
insane.
found this really cool deck of cards. I'm just gonna keep pulling them.
Yeah, man. You know what? You do you.
Yeah, either he wishes for his boyfriend back or he dies.
I hate that.
That's just what I do for all NPCs close to the PCs. I'm like, oh yeah, he found a pack of cards. Either they die or the PC comes back.
That's worse.
It's like during the session where like you're not there. So I'm like, we need you. Just DMing you rapidly on Discord.
So bad. I think in terms of like slotting a new guy in, I could just make whatever, man. Like I'm a very vibes-based character designer. I can just kind of roll with stuff, but also that's probably not the healthiest thing to do in the long run, and it's proven to not be healthy in the long run. So we'll see.
It's easier now though, I guess, because you already know what the crew are like.
Yeah,
you can think of like how would
I
this
know.
person talk to Belladonna, how this person talk to Alta.
Yeah. I know the tone and what's going on and what the crew is like, and I think that's a big help because that just means I can literally run scenarios in my head until I'm happy with it. Like,
Yeah.
No, exactly. I think I would know exactly like, oh, how would this person interact with these people? And because you know them, it's just
yeah,
there's less
that's good.
involved.
It's easier than going in blind, yeah.
I would almost want like a mock-up session 0 of like us interacting so that I could like nail down like interactions.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel
with
like
the new backup.
yeah, with the new backup, because like as cool as it is that like, oh, I know these characters really well, I personally feel like I know them, but I don't know them as well as you guys would, and I feel like you guys would you would do something that I actually wouldn't expect, and it would make sense, but it's something that I never would have thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how they respond
what
to
I
being
mean?
talked about in this way or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how would they? But like the Belladonna now, you're like, well, I know what she would say.
Yeah. Like it feels like quite second nature to me. But like I have no idea how my backup character would respond to her house burning down. Would be completely different to Belladonna's, you know what I mean?
Okay, Evan, that's what you have to do in the session 0. You gotta run through
I just
every
put you
single
guys through
possible
scenarios.
scenario, so you're prepared for everything.
What would your character think of an earthquake? I think also for a session, well, I guess for the first session of like a new PC, I would either try and make it one where there's a huge gap for just getting to know each other and like doing something that doesn't require like you guys wouldn't be fighting like one of the 5 elders while introduced to a new guy, because that is just, there's not time to sit and talk. But I would either do it where like the new guy brings a new plot hook or some new information, or there is like they bring a briever to whatever is currently happening, so that the crew, like if they bring something really important to the crew, that's already like a quick hook for the PCs to be like, oh, why would I care about this guy? And if they don't, that like extra breathing room and just having time to RP will just naturally make it as well. So I'd probably just do that. I wouldn't have it wouldn't be like a normal session, I guess is what I'm saying.
Circus. Oh my god.
Pub crawl.
Oh, guy.
Oh, the pub crawl be
The pub crawl be
insane.
crazy for an intro.
Yeah, this person buys you a round of drinks and they look really mysterious. Like, do you want to
Wait,
introduce the
Evan, if
character?
Alta dies next session, can I introduce my backup at our IRL pub crawl D&D session?
Yeah, of course.
That can be keys. Like,
You have to be
session
really
0
drunk to
where we
introduce them
interact
though,
with the
because the character is
Belladonna
drunk
dies,
and
you guys all sneak off to the Rat Pack Tavern, and that's where you meet my new character.
Yeah,
Oh my
we're
god.
cooking.
just smoking weed from a hamster-shaped bomb.
So there's like 3 taverns in the island, and like all of them actually secretly have our backups in them.
They're all
So it's
sitting
like
there.
which one you enter.
One of them is having a whiskey, one of them is smoking a cigar, and one of them is drinking apple juice. We just have to find out which is which.
I think we know.
Speaking of finding out which is which, I'm rolling again. Kira, you're my witness this time. 1d4.
Uh.
That's me. I got a 4.
Oh my god.
First up on mine is what are your guys' favorite fights? Does anyone have any that come to
Okay.
mind?
Immediately, I'm saying the Garamakia fight. I have to.
You were MVP for me.
I was like, that was like, I was so stressed constantly, and I felt so bad because like, I was just like, I was healing Ferrum and Bravv, and it didn't even do anything. All it did was just like put them in Garamaki's way a little bit longer.
Yeah, they kept
And
getting
it was
knocked
just,
back
I was,
down.
yeah, and I felt like I was just like using you two as like meat shields, and I felt so bad. But I was
I
like,
don't
what
think,
was
yeah,
the
I don't
fight?
think you should have felt bad because at least you were helping. I was there, like I'm gonna risk again and make us all blind.
Alta was seeing shapes and colors during that fight.
She was.
For certain.
She was chasing fairies.
Yeah, she's in her own little world.
Saved your ass from drowning, but you know who else?
Yeah. You were seeing fairies. Fair.
Oh, fair, the fairy.
Fairy fruit. Anyone else have any favorites I can think of, or ones that come to
Um,
mind?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess like it's older. I really liked the I think the gyro fight, mostly from I guess an
Yeah.
Alta kind of like. I know Ferrum and like Belladonna were going through the horrors. What was going on in the bottom half of that map was like insane. With,
yeah,
like,
but
the
you look
crew
like
and
you were
everything.
having fun.
But I think for
That's all
Bravv and
that
Alta,
matters.
for Bravv and Alta, I think like the teamwork there was like insane. I don't know if we've ever like I don't know. Obviously
Yeah.
we've got stuff like that, but it was genuinely like just stuff like the positioning that Bravv was taking just to avoid like Alta getting hit and all the way we like had such a good system going
Yeah,
where we could both like jump her essentially.
Yeah,
like I
and it
feel
was
like
really
that
cool.
was. I feel like that was an exciting fight for a different reason because you guys, none of us were really worried that like we were gonna die. You know what I
I don't know.
mean?
You guys were like,
there was some
We were
dimming
having-
in
we were
between
having-
sessions.
We were
There
we
was
were
some
having
viewing.
it a little bit rough, but like you guys were jumping our ass so hard that like in comparison, I feel like I love the Garamakia fight because of like the relief of the victory afterwards, whereas I feel like you guys were enjoying.
we were aura
Yeah.
farming. Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
nice, you guys. Like, and then when she summoned her Monopoly pieces, I was like, yeah. This might be
Sukuna
good.
using Fuga or whatever it's called. it's just her using her Monopoly cards instead of the fire arrow.
Yeah, you know that left an impact on me because I drew the flip like Toto Alta
Yeah.
immediately after.
Her and Bravv were best friends during that fight.
Yeah. They were cooking.
Got any come to mind, Avary? That you fuck with?
I really liked the Loktam fight where we just had to run away. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, I think that's another
'Cause it's just-
stressful one too.
It was just super like frantic and like a little bit scary, and it kind of fucked. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think I found that scarier than the actual fight itself.
Yeah.
Because I think it was a bit more
Yeah,
like,
fair.
yeah, there was
felt
nothing we
so
could do
hopeless.
almost. Yeah, exactly, hopeless.
like I just remember the in-between turns being super quiet, which is like, whoa.
Yeah, I remember that being like particularly scary as well because I just like forgot I could have like a flying animal I could ride on, and then
Yeah.
like getting the feeble mind, but like still having my like creature like managing to save me. Like that was also like quite hype, even though like I don't think anybody was actually like hitting anybody.
There was a
But,
little
like,
I
bit
was
of
getting
hitting.
hit.
Yeah, Makia was flamethrowering those motherfuckers up front.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but we
was-
weren't fighting back, I don't think.
No, we hit him a little bit, but like not for much.
Yeah, Ferrum lightning
Yeah, there was no
bolted
point.
and Belladonna shot a couple times, but you guys were kind of learned through that he was just healing
Yeah.
stuff. Like if you're
We were
not
just
committed
like-
to doing damage to him, it's kind of just gonna shrug off. Like if you're taking dash actions and stuff.
Mm.
Ferrum also had like a kind of a spooky moment where Ferrum was just like standing still for like 2 turns.
Yeah.
Well, everyone was
Yeah.
like, wait,
A
Ooh.
mini panic attack.
and we had Incus coming in clutch too.
Oh my god, I love that guy.
Getting Ferrum to run, was it like 300 feet in a turn or
Yeah,
some shit?
300 feet in a turn. I felt so good. I was like, Monk is awesome,
Yeah,
actually.
you got the heightened movement from being a monk, then you got bonus and action dash and haste.
Yeah. and haste, yeah. So it was a lot. And then I got to catch up and then overtake like almost everyone except Bravv, I think, who was already there.
Yeah, that was crazy as well that we had like Bravv with all his crazy movement and speed, Alta with like her bonus action dashes, and like me and you somehow made it there before Alta did.
Alta was unconscious,
Listen,
right?
she had stuff going on.
Yeah, she had stuff going on, but like you and Bravv had like crazy massive head starts. Cause like I didn't have any like bonus action dashes. I could only like and the first two actions I took weren't dash actions. Because I was
Yeah,
trying
you were
to
doing
get,
stuff.
I was trying to get Calico and Onda out of there, and then I watched Calico die. That was quite sad.
Yeah.
I would have felt so bad if Alta died there because she was down. I think she had to make like one death save, but I remember I think it was Niamh messaging me that I realized where even though he had true sight, the nat 20 stealth should have worked because it doesn't work through walls.
Yeah.
Really?
I believe so. I believe it doesn't work through walls. It sees through like illusions and it can see invisibility, but if you're on the other side of a wall, it's not like X-ray vision.
Oh, okay, that makes
As far
sense.
as I know. So like we were describing that she was hiding behind stuff and she got a nat 20 in stealth, so it should have been that she remained out of sight.
Hmm.
And the invisibility would have still had a function, which was giving her. I'm not sure. Technically, it does give you advantage on stealth checks. I'm pretty sure, but I guess if he's not seeing, yeah, I guess to him. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way,
I was
she should have been
fuming.
hidden.
But it's okay.
Yeah. All right, I'm rolling another
Sorry,
D4.
matter.
We'll see who it is. A 2. Kira, that's you.
Me.
If you were to play another character, PC or NPC, who would you pick and why? So, no backups. You have to pick an existing PC or NPC. Which one would you most like to play as a character? Does anyone have any that come to mind?
I think for me, it's either. See, I would love to play Alta, but I feel like the risky gambit stuff. I feel like I would be too scared to do that.
You wouldn't be able to let
You
it
know what I
rip.
mean?
Abandon fear.
No.
See, that's actually a good sign. You know, keep that trait in yourself, you know?
So I'd probably go with Adwa, or yeah, I'd probably pick Adwa if I'm honest, because I feel like the idea of an intelligent barbarian is quite fun.
Yeah, she's based off the Shattered Mind Barbarian in the Homebrew, so spellcaster that can also use their int as their strength whenever they rage and stuff like that. Which is cool because you can reckless attack with spells, including ranged ones, which is a nice little feature.
Yeah, that's
And also
pretty
you can
sick.
add your rage bonus to heals, which is cool. I like that subclass a lot. I think it's really fun. Niamh or Avary, do you have any you think would be fun to play?
I don't know. Yeah, go on, Avary.
I'm such an Ingus believer, bro. That's like cheating because it's like evil Ferrum, but I love Ingus so much.
I've never seen Evil Ferrum.
We've seen evil Ferrum. It's Ingus.
No.
I don't know. I just like
I love Grillby.
he's fun. I like him. Like there's not much more to it. I'm afraid. Like he feels like a guy that I could feasibly make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd fuck with Rogue if you were to play. He's a swashbuckler rogue is what he's based on as well.
Yeah, see, I like
Oh,
Swashbuckler.
that's so cool. Yeah.
I feel like
Swashbuckler's great.
if he was any other one, I'd be like, no.
Yeah, he out of like the base 5e ones, Swashbuckler is by far my favorite just because of Rakish Audacity where you can sneak attack without having to hide and stuff.
Yeah.
Or without needing an ally there. What else? Oh, how would you do you think Incas would be easy to RP as? I feel like he's got a very I feel like his approach to a scene is quite easy to figure out, you know? Like you know what he's gonna say most times.
I feel like I'd be able to figure it out. I just like I don't think I got that dog in me, man. Like I can't be that much of a little shit for
To go
that long
willy-willy?
without feeling bad. Yeah, no, that too.
Like to kill someone and then do a Fortnite dance or some shit.
No. Don't put words in my mouth.
I'm putting that in my own life. That's what Incas is doing next session. Going over to Karam's body. Flossing.
Good. As he should. He deserves that.
Gets caught. And it's like, I was
honestly.
just flossing in the bathroom. It was just, I brushed my teeth.
Shut the fuck up.
Niamh, do you have any in mind, PC or NPC wise?
Okay, so the thing is here, you guys both chose your PC's like romantic partner, and
I
Purely
picked you
coincidental.
first.
also
First
it
of all,
doesn't really like have that. So
I picked you first of all. I picked you first.
for any reason other than risky gambit or for this class?
No,
or-
just I think it's a mix between like the class and also I would love to play like the almost like little bit of like the ADHD-ness of Alta a little bit, but like I feel like you have a nice depth with Alta that I wouldn't be able to pull off.
I don't think so.
I think so. I think like
Nice.
her stuff with the Sky Islands and like really wanting to know. Like I feel like Alta's at a stage where she kind of knows this stuff about the circus isn't
Yeah.
true, but it's the only thing she has, and it's like that's something that I don't know if I would be able to pull off.
I don't know if I'm going to be
Wow.
able to pull it off. Let's see.
You have been.
Yeah, in my mind, there are many speeches in the future of 5e that I want to pull off because I've got such classic old evil men. And I don't think I could pull off a speech, but we had a speech at the end of the last session, which I thought was very cool.
It was so
I think
good.
it's easier for PCs to give speeches than DMs.
See, I
I
wouldn't
will
say
say.
so because I feel like I can like yell at you guys and be like, sit down, listen to me.
Well, I suppose DMs can also like probably plan out their speeches.
Yeah,
better,
that's-
'cause they know what's
That's what
gonna
I'm
happen
thinking.
a bit more.
Even if I planned one, I don't think I could follow through with it. I would just be like, I'd give the cliff notes, you know?
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that as DM.
Mhm.
Sorry, me. Let's go back to me. So I don't like. I think my thing is I would really struggle. I just really struggle with even the idea of playing like a character that belongs to someone else. It's like even stuff like
Yeah.
Evan, you like doing shit like RPing as like Bravv or even like a few lines. It's like I don't think I could have done that. Like if I
Yeah,
needed
that
that
was-
Sarah character, I was David. Like I would find that so difficult. Like I'm saying you did a good
Yeah.
job, but I'm saying I would find doing that
Yeah,
impossible. So I really like, struggle to even like imagine it. I think mechanics wise, I think like a doctor with a gun is a really really cool class.
Don't pick me
But,
just
like-
because I picked you.
No, I'm saying I think it's really cool. I think mechanics wise, but like character wise, I like just do not know because I cannot imagine just going. And maybe that's probably a problem. That's probably like something I need to work on a bit more, have a bit more imagination, I guess, in that regard. But I just cannot imagine like I don't know playing a character someone that already exists. I guess because
Yeah, I
I
get you.
don't think I could do it.
Well,
I could do it just even like saying a line in Belladonna's voice for like 3 seconds killed me.
I was
Like,
gonna
I
say
just can't.
I think you have the voice down already. So
Because I had to study for like half an hour. And I was
you had to
somebody-
study.
yeah, I was like, Evan,
No
what do you
way.
think is the best clip? And you were like, it's the one where they're like, it's the one where they're talking about carrots and fruits, and I was like, okay, I know where this is. And I went and I just listened to it a bunch of times. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know how to give that an answer.
Yeah, even with Bravv, I was very nervous about it. Also, just because like captain is such a scary thing to be like, hey guys, this is what we're doing now. Like, because I was thinking like in my first thought whenever like it was up to me to see like what would happen to Bravv was like, does he just like disband the crew? And I'm like, then it would be like you guys kind of have to like come up with it in your own idea. They'll be like, okay, we're rebanding the crew, but without him. It felt very hard to not make it seem like an out of nowhere breakup. You know, that was the
Yeah.
And playing in his voice as well. I think Bravv is like the easiest of the characters in my mind to like not do the voice of, but like get what he might say in a situation. I guess.
Yeah, 'cause
like
I feel
on
like
the
it's
dome.
just kind of like, yeah, he's very much like whatever comes to mind first kind of character.
I think he's also the
And you
only
always,
character
like-
that would like open a door, say something, and then leave without waiting for an answer. You know, I feel like Belladonna I would have to RP a conversation with or something like that, or like Alta would have more of a back and forth, or Ferrum would like linger around and talk a lot more to each individual person or something like that. It's just with Bravv, I can imagine it'd be like, "Oh, I did this. Good luck, guys," and then leave.
Yeah. I also feel like with Bravv, he does a lot of like before he starts a sentence, he just goes, I don't know, and then he says something. So I feel like that little pauses, you're able to think of like
Yeah, gives
something
me
real
that
quick.
chance.
Yeah, and you get your intonation, right? I suppose that's how you keep the
Yeah.
character up.
Yeah.
It's my
It's
like
activation
you-
line.
what's like your voice line to like get into character? Because like we always joke because like in Rustage's D&D, which is what our One Piece homebrew is based off of, he has a character who's Scottish, and anytime he tries to talk about her, he like leans away and he goes, "If he could change your fate to get into character."
That's actually another question I should have like asked you guys, because I do have that with Alta, where it's like, do you have one line to get into the voice?
Do you?
Oh, wait, what is it?
I do have that. It's literally her introduction, where every single time she's like, "Oh, I'm Alta, but I'm Altalune. Sorry, I'm Altalune, but my friends call me Alta." And then that like I kind of just go from there.
Yeah. I didn't
every
think about
single
that.
time.
And
Yeah, that
that's
is.
because that's why I repeat
That's
those like
really
it's
cool.
because it doesn't even make sense anymore. Because this is another thing where it's like, oh, abandoned part of her character or whatever. But like I just repeat that line every single time because that's like the code. Because sometimes I just forget what she sounds like, and I've been really guilty of doing that lately, where I think I've just been talking normally. Especially more serious moments, I sometimes just drop the voice entirely. I think so. Sometimes I do just have to make her like introduce herself.
I get you.
Just kind of like get
Yeah.
back into the. So I don't
For
know if you
me,
guys have anything
it's
like that.
for me it's because I based her accent off of Nadia from What We Do in the Shadows. There's this great line from Nadia that I absolutely love, and Evan loves it too.
It's about the
As
oil.
where she's yeah, she's talking about this stuffed owl that she has, and she was describing that like this owl attacked her, and she turned to her husband and she was like, "Laszlo, kill this fucking bitch, please."
I love it because she describes the oil as if it's like a human person beefing with her.
Yeah, and she's like, "Laszlo, kill this fucking bitch, please," and he did, and now we have it. So that's how I get into Belladonna's voice.
Yeah, there's an introduction and then there's a death threat and an oil. A good variety here.
They do whatever there, you know? They have
Yeah.
fun.
I can't get this fucking hat right. I'm so annoyed.
You're streaming the drawing, okay?
Yeah.
I've not tapped in. Sorry, I'll do that.
How
later.
dare you?
Oh, it's looking good.
Alright, I'm gonna roll another d4. Who hasn't showed up? Avary.
Yeah, it's
Nuh-uh.
Avery.
Me again! Okay.
If I have to.
You know, this one will be a short one. What is your favorite NPC crew member of all the crew members? Just which one's your favorite in general?
Don't make me choose between my babies.
Does anyone have one that comes to mind?
My cat.
I know.
Easy,
Fair.
easy pick.
Fair. I know I just like low key invited Adwa, but I have to give it to Anda, I think. I love Anda so much. I love
Gotcha.
Anda and Homie so much.
Mhm.
And like Adwa, I love her. She's my girlfriend, but
Whoa.
Anda is an OG. You know what I mean? And Anda was like very fun.
He's a technically session oneer.
Technically,
Yes.
yeah, that's true.
It's at the end.
Yeah, I do like Odwell as well, actually, just for, I think, from Alta's perspective, I think the dynamic is quite interesting there, even though, like, I'm not sure, maybe I haven't explored it that much, but I think the whole kind of, I don't know, they have very similar, I guess, backgrounds, and they've kind of similar, like, guilt, I suppose, but obviously they're,
Mhm.
Odwell's like twice our age.
Yeah.
But, so I do think that's interesting, but, like, Bear is not quite an OG, but he's like session 2. That's my cat, man.
He's
Yes,
totally an
session
OG.
He was
He's
technically
got
there
a
in session
fruit.
1 because he was on the boat. You just didn't run out
True, OG.
He is an OG. I also have to
So he's
give
been there.
a shout out to Squeven, of course.
Your bastard child that you love.
Yeah. Oh no! Oh no, this is crew members. Never mind.
What, did you have another NPC you're thinking of?
Angela.
Oh, Angela.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You
True.
gotta shout out Angela.
Gotta shout out Angela, but she's not a member of the crew, so
Yeah.
she does not count.
Who we got, Avery?
Does Fogo count as a member of the crew? I like Fogo.
No.
I think he's really
I like
cute.
I
I'm
like
not
Fogo a
letting
lot.
him
And
join the crew.
you're not. I was gonna.
Alta's gonna veto it. I'll be honest. You can. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can try.
I
Alta
was-
will veto it.
I was
you
gonna.
can-
I was gonna ask like, what do you guys think about? Like, I don't want to bring it up like in character, but I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you guys. Like,
I
first of
think-
all, what do
yeah,
you think?
I think from Alta's perspective, this is a 14-year-old child. And I think it's
Hey,
funny
hey,
because
listen.
I know Ferrum is a kid, but I genuinely think if Alta, like, if Ferrum had asked to join, like, now, Alta would have said no.
That's real.
Or, like, would have said no, because I think she's generally, like, I don't, just because of, like, what she's realized about her upbringing is, like, she doesn't want to see any more kids, kind of, like, I don't, even if they think it's their decision, like, she doesn't want any more kids kind of be forced into, like, fighting. So it would be a
Yeah.
kind of thing where she would be like, okay, well, I'll see you again in, like, 4 years, you know what I mean? And if you still want, I'll make it a better world, whatever, and then we can, like, go out and, like, show you that world, but, like, she doesn't want to do that to, like, a kid,
Yeah.
I suppose. It's kind of thing that she, like, thinks the kids should be able to be free and play with their toys. You know, it's like...
See, I think from Belladonna's perspective, she's like, this is a blind child with no parents in an island where celestial dragons visit all the time, and he's like a rare
Yeah.
race. In her mind, she's just like, if we just keep him on the ship, he's not going to be, she doesn't want him to be part of like any of the fighting. She's just like, we need to make
Yeah.
sure this child isn't going to be
But the thing
attacked.
is, like, yeah, that island is, like, I know it's, like, the Celestial Dragons and everything, but apart from that, it is, like, the safest place for
Yeah,
him to
'cause it's
be, because the
very-
people there are actually, like, accepting. And
Mm.
I guess that's the thing that's come up a lot.
fair.
While we're warlords now, essentially, so we would be dealing with more and more, like, Marines and government and everything, and it's just, like,
That's
Yeah. I
don't
true,
know.
but that's also like we're accepting the warlord position for like a level of protection as well as
oh yeah,
like some benefits. So like if we had this kid on our crew, he would be like protected by the government.
yeah, I don't
as
mind
well,
arguing about
so-
it in character, but I think Alta just doesn't want any kids.
I think-
That's
Yeah.
that's
anymore.
fair.
I think
that's fair.
warlord wise, you guys are like protected more, but also you have to remember that part of the warlord deal is you have to write down who your crew members are, and that means that
Yeah.
Fogo is like outed, you know.
Legally, yeah.
So like if anything goes wrong, they know where the one Lunarian is or whatever.
Do we
Yeah,
have to
I
write
think he's
down
safer.
if like people are traveling on the ship with us?
I think it's just crew members because they need to know essentially
Okay,
who
so we
like,
can.
who represents you. So if someone fucks up, that's counted as your fuck up, kind of. Like
Yeah.
it's who you're willing
like,
to
if
accept
we-
responsibility for.
If we said that like we're bringing this kid along somewhere and like bringing him to another island, let's say.
I'd say
We
you
could
could
just,
just
like,
like
we
don't have to-
I think you could just like declare it in front of like if the Marine stopped you, but it's like it's not a thing you have to. In my mind, it's just like every
Yeah.
time you meet up and do something warlord related, they ask if there's been an update on like crew members leaving or joining,
Yeah.
and if you're not honest,
That
they
makes sense.
that's a big red strike.
Yeah, I don't know. I like him a lot. He's super sweet, but I just think from Alta's perspective, it's too much like seeing like
Yeah.
a little her, I guess. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it being
get
like,
it.
well, I don't know. Like she saw too many like kids his age, I think, leave to
Mm.
like essentially just like
I think as
Marines
well-
or Cyberpol or whatever.
I would ultimately like leave that to be Alta's decision because I feel like she's the one who is able to empathize with him the most. And like she's the one who was the closest to him. So I'd be like, ultimately I would let it be Alta's decision.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down for discussion because I guess I'm not saying that Alta's decision is the right decision because I think it is pretty much it is motivated by like trauma, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean she's thinking like in the most logical way. It's like an emotional response, I suppose.
Mm.
I guess all three characters
Still,
also
that's
have
fair.
very different, I guess not relationships with, but like views on what like like the level of acceptability of like young people being involved in violence as well. Like
Yeah,
Belladonna's like land is a lot more, like Leechland's is a lot more harsh, and you'd be expected to do a lot more when you're younger because you can't really just be a leech on your family in the same way. And yeah, and Alta of course has now learned how much children kind of hang in the balance of her mission, and how it's just been a repeated cycle for so long.
I think it's just a guilt thing, I think, at this point for Alta, because she let so many kids go through it, I guess, just by like not doing anything for years.
Yeah, I get you.
So now she's like this crazy guilt.
And then with the minks, it's like the idea is that minks are like from when they're kids, they're trained quite hard to battle, and like Ferrum and Incus weren't officially trained because they were in the fucking kiddie pool, but still through their own methods became quite powerful. But like, yeah, it's just interesting that for I think all three characters they'd have a different view on that as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you had more to add, I was gonna roll another d4.
Go ahead.
Go for it, yeah.
Avary,
Yay!
Oh my god, hi.
what was your favorite sessions and why, or favorite session if you have one in mind?
Yeah.
Hamster session.
Hamster session? Strong. Honestly.
That's a half a session. You can pick another one as a bonus.
Yeah, true.
Do you have another session you kind of liked half of it? The rest of it didn't really hit. It was kind of good. There was that bit, you know.
Yeah, the circus was good, and then Ferrum stopped and the performing. I didn't care anymore.
True.
I stopped watching when the tomato was thrown.
Insane.
It's like whenever like a really big song with like a rap verse gets uploaded or like gets popular, there's always a YouTube version and it's like this song minus the rap. Circus performance minus Ferrum.
Real, honestly.
upload
They should
that.
do that. He doesn't belong there anyway. Like,
So yours is the hamster session.
I think I just have a really big soft spot for the hamster session.
Mm-hmm.
But I think realistically, again, it's like our dealings with like Garrett Machia, because it's what has like led us here. I think like that's the most influential session. And also it's where I was the biggest dumbass and suggesting we row across the ground.
that shit was all. Hey, listen, we did not have better
We're
ideas,
alive.
okay?
It worked, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
0 deaths.
And nobody died. Like,
Yeah, that's the craziest thing to me. Is that nobody died.
What about the other two? What do you think? Is there any come to mind?
oh, I'm really selfish, but I fuck with session 20.
Which was session 20?
Transgender.
You're transgender. Okay, I remember
I had
now.
fun.
It was a really good one.
I had a good time. I felt like I was able to just kind of not throw shit at the wall. It was very calculated, but like, I felt like I was able to throw a lot at you guys without fucking up the vibe and irreparably changing the course of Belladonna's life. Like, it very much felt like another session where it could have been like, oh, this is Ferrum session. Like, no, we just went to the church and like went shopping. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice it started that way, and then like it kind of like inspired what went next with it. Was it that no, it wasn't the one where you just went shopping for clothes, was it? Or was that
No, it's
before?
the
was
one where
after that,
Ferrum got
yeah.
a pride pin.
Yeah,
yeah,
that
Ferrum
was
got a
it.
pride pin.
Because when you seen the mural and stuff, so I got to share part of that commission I got ages ago.
True. A lot of art share that day.
Hell of a
Some
lot.
some better than others, maybe.
Oh, I remember. Oh, yeah. Oh,
It was a big day for the nation.
oh,
It truly was, you know. Everyone had a great time.
oh.
Luke, do you have a favorite in your mind?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking about it again.
The scars,
I forgot.
they hurt.
I was like, wow, what a great session. See, I feel terrible because I'm like biased. Well, for starters, I've got that recency bias where obviously I'm like, yeah, I like the circus. Alta was there and she did flips and everyone thought she was great.
True.
But yeah, I mean, I did like that. She got to do her thing. She got to say her thing. And then alternatively, again, and this is also bias coming in, I did like the session where we absolutely just ruined everything in Logtown. With some hard
Everyone.
pulls. I really enjoyed that, and I had to go find the genie to like fix it because I knew I was gonna have to find. Because I think you said the genie was on that island.
Yeah,
So like I
think you
knew I
did a
was gonna have
check,
to do it.
like as soon as you guys arrived or something, or I asked you.
Yeah,
to do a
I
check.
knew. Yeah, I knew I was gonna have to do it, but it was so much more fun to do it like as like a kind of a running around like last resort kind of thing. If you know what I mean, it was so much more
Yeah.
fun to do it like frantically than just be like.
I
"Oh,
also
yeah,
feel like
let's
Alta
go
only
for it."
robbed that guy because she was in such a hurry she didn't have time to explain it.
Oh yeah, I actually got to do
That's
some
really
like lock picking and like stealing. It's like a rogue activities that I genuinely just had not done for the whole campaign because it's not really in her nature.
It takes more time to
So,
pay
yeah.
to verify
Yeah,
the
it
purchase.
was. Yeah, it was fun. Just on sheer like energy, like I did enjoy that.
I really like the circus session. From a DM perspective, I really like the Victory Royale, the battle
I
royale
was
Nice.
going
session.
to
It's
say,
good, yeah.
I
I love
loved
the
Battle Royale as
Victory.
well.
Just because I felt like the combat in that one, like even listening to it, I think it plays pretty smoothly. Where like you can tell what's happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are some big moments that are just decided by dice, but also like me and you guys like narrating what we're doing. I think it's really funny that we start with like the bullet was such a huge problem that was revealed itself at the end of the session before that, and then it just ended up and it was the drill car versus the bullet, and I think they both
Yeah.
crit on each other
Yeah.
or some shit.
I summoned that boulette or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did
it was the
Okay.
bag of beans.
God damn it. I was like, how did we get there?
At the end of the, because I said you guys had like a turn to start like all your concentration spells.
Yeah,
The
I
end one,
planted
you're like, I'm gonna plant a
beans.
bean.
God
Yeah, I like that one. I like the. I was worried that it was gonna get too caught up in the combat, and I wasn't gonna have like any Incas characterization because it was the first time you guys properly met him. But I feel like it went pretty well.
Yeah, I
Well,
like that as well because it was our first time really
Yeah.
meeting
You gotta-
Incas.
He also permanently
Oh,
scarred both Belladonna
Yeah, both of them
and
got stabbed.
Yeah.
Ferrum. Yeah, Ferrum has like a wound on their waist now too. So I was glad that came across. I don't know if it
I
was
think
that
it's-
session or the next one as well, where you guys like you watch like the CCTV or whatever and find out like
That was the session after.
That was
Yeah,
session
that was
after,
session
yeah.
after.
yeah, and you said the goop, the goopy Incas and Belladonna almost
Yeah.
getting her memory wiped.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
and
also-
then Ferrum falling in piss. Yes, I remember now.
Oh yeah,
The pissed off.
Piss dog
Dog.
incident.
Piss Dog's so
Like,
well.
That was in
loved
the running
Piss
through my
Dog.
favorite combat. Okay,
No,
I love
actually,
Piss
it's
Dog.
I
so
blocked
good. It
Piss
was
Dog
so
from my
funny.
memory, and I hate you for bringing it back up.
Genuinely, I forgot about it too. It was so good. That's yeah, that was.
It's like Goku's
Because,
first Super Saiyan, but like he gets hit. He's like fighting a clown, and he keeps falling on rakes and shit, and keeps getting hit
See,
with
I
high.
feel
yeah.
It didn't even impact the combat. It was just like funny. It was
Yeah.
That's so funny. I think that was like Alta because I feel like the talk shit with Belladonna for it in my mind that was like Alta's first like big character development,
Yeah,
and then the
that
transition from that instantly.
Listen,
was like
sometimes-
adorable.
that was so sweet, and I felt so bad because then it transitioned to boys' night, and like
It was so good.
Boys and girls nights, just very different
Yeah,
vibes.
and you-
So good.
Yeah, you two were just like beating the shit out of each other.
On a marine ship, as they're all like, "Is this normal?"
Yeah, they were just like, yeah.
I was like, they just made room.
Alta and Belladonna's contributions. If I remember, like Alta like tried to polymorph, failed, and then just hid. So she like did nothing, and then Belladonna like introduced the piss talk. Like, we
And
were
Belladonna
not-
failed to hide, I think, and had the
helping.
hat on display.
It was so bad from us.
God, did I have another? Oh yeah, and I also have a soft spot for the backstory lead. Just
Oh,
because
I love
Yeah.
backstory. We
that was the thing where
That
I'm like,
was fun.
just because I have a thing where I'm like, this is like the crew is about to go and do some like crazy shit. They have the battle royale, and I know that might be a warlord thing. Whatever it is, I'm like, it might change the crew a lot. And I want to give that like last like opening each other up to each other. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it in the most literal, on the nose way, and be like, fuck it, you have weed that gives you each other's backstories. And I think the fact that you could like you had a little bit of wiggle room in looking around. And
Yeah.
like some PCs learned some new
I could
stuff.
see breasts.
Yeah, you saw the breast timeline.
the foreshadowing.
Yeah, honestly, I was like, Avary, I'm about to do something crazy. You'll want to watch this.
I, of course, have a big soft spot for Victor Royale because that's where Belladonna got her devil fruit.
Yeah, I
Oh,
forgot about that.
I fucking love that devil fruit so
Oh,
much.
that's so
It's
nice.
really good.
I'm running another D4. We're getting for it. 4! Kira! Right, no,
Woo,
that's
what's-
me. I
Oh,
forgot.
okay.
This fucking
Rude.
I'm getting free mine. All right, guys. I'm just gonna go to you guys individually, or actually, I'll let you think about it in case because it's on the spot. But either, well, we'll answer both. You know, these were not separate questions, so they'll go together.
Yeah.
Your biggest W for your character? What's the biggest L of your character? Are there any that comes to mind immediately for any of you guys?
Ferrum's
Mind.
Ferrum's living his biggest W and also just had his biggest L. So like I don't know what to tell you.
The tomato.
Yeah, the tomato.
Bless.
I've never felt so bad for one of the characters I've played ever. Like,
I felt awful. I felt so bad.
Yeah.
and it's not even like there's like so much bad shit has happened to Ferrum, but like the tomato is just so mean for no reason.
Yeah.
It's like if you accidentally like stand on a puppy's like tail and you're like, oh, that's so awful. But it's then like taking an extra step and being like, yeah, and then I sped on it and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's what I felt like I was doing throwing the tomato at Ferrum.
He already fucked up his save. He already got drilled by the fucking car.
Covered in grease.
Yeah.
Like that was some no good, very bad day type shit. Like
That's the
there's
type
no
of shit where
need
like
for that to
everyone in the
happen.
audience would be like, oh, the poor dote, and just like, I'll let them out. But then this one guy's like, fuck, that sucked. And throws a tomato.
So stupid.
That's
I
like
love
the
that
equivalent
guy.
of
I
like
hate
a
that
little
guy.
kid going on like Britain's Got Talent, getting too nervous and like crying during their performance, and then someone in the audience with a styrofoam thumbs down. It's like so funny to me. Okay, well, I'm glad
awful.
Ferrum's biggest W and L were so close together.
Listen, he's a man of extremes.
Yeah. Got to go on a fast fair as well. Got to
Yeah.
have cotton candy with ugly fucking boyfriend.
I'm serious.
So
yeah.
happy for it.
Kira and Niamh, do you have any in mind?
I have so many L's, but so Key, you can start.
I think her biggest L is for sure feeble mind.
Drilling herself.
That was horrific for Belladonna.
I remember you described it that she was like making ink and like drinking it or something.
Yeah, she was just like sucking on her own thumbs and like drinking the ink. That's like that just was like a horrible thing that like for most people it's like, oh god, that was embarrassing. For her it was horrendous.
That's a thing I feel where like it reminds me of like whenever I'm playing like IRL D&D stuff now and I'm trying to think of like ways to make my characters have like responses to situations other than just like what everyone would do, I guess. So I always try and make it that like my character has like an additional weakness almost, or like a care. Because everyone, there's no real weaknesses in D&D. Like your class can't do some things, but it's not like they do anything awfully. They just do it average. So I always like thinking like, what does this character care a lot about? And if that's stripped away from them, they got to respond, you know? Like, and there's a good example for Belladonna, I think. It's just like, if Belladonna was a different character, that was just like, oh, it sucks, she's like dumb. But she's also someone who cares so much about being seen in a certain way and carrying herself in a certain way.
Yeah.
That it means so much more to her. I get you. Do you have any big W's in mind?
I'm trying to think. I feel like she has, but I feel like the L's are just so much more memorable because
Surely Makia like taking him down.
yeah, I would say so.
Oh, yeah, and
but,
Roger's
like,
telling you to name your weapon because you did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like all of those.
Mhm.
But I don't want to feel like a broken record. As good as like the Garbakia stuff is, I don't want to keep harping on about it. I'm trying to be humble.
It did take up a good amount of sessions, to be fair.
It did.
Yeah, that's true. It's an arc of itself.
But I'm trying to think if there was like another like big win for her.
I can talk about my numerous losses and then we can come back to you if you want.
If you want to, I don't mind.
Yeah. So she got a lot of L's, man. I don't know what to say. It's been bad. I'm thinking like 3 there's more, but I'm thinking 3 to start. The mole session was really bad, man.
She
I
got
was so
jumped.
embarrassed. She literally got like. I don't feel like Alta's had to roll a lot of death saves, but that was early and that was back. It was so dumb.
She got crit on too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was just awful. And she got put in the net. I'm pretty sure she failed like some kind of save to get out or whatever.
Yeah. She failed to save, so she ended up in the net, and then she failed to get out of the net, and she got crit on.
It was just so embarrassing. I think I remember one point that Key, you're like, "Oh, I can heal you," and I was like, "Just don't."
Just let her die.
It's like I'm just gonna go right back down. I'm like, I don't even care.
We would have a serious conversation about the power scaling of the power nose or the
the
drill nose
moles.
moles.
Were crazy. Drills. It all comes together.
Yeah.
Drills a common theme. They caught me, then they caught then they ran over like. I don't know if he ran over Belladonna in Battle Royale. He ran over some people.
I foreshadowed it.
And then Ferrum, I ran Ferrum over with the drill. So it all kind of comes together. But anyway, secondly, when we're about to when we're on the boat about to like flee Logetown, and like Belladonna's feeble-minded, and Alta's like, I'm gonna keep pulling cards, and it does not go well. I will say, like, in my mind, it was kind of like she's panicking like crazy, and she feels kind of, I don't know, it's like she just apologized to Belladonna, right? And now this has happened, and she's like, oh my god, and she still feels kind of bad. She's like, well, I have to like fix Belladonna because it is kind of her fault because they're her cards. So she's like, I have to fix Belladonna, and I guess it's kind of like, I don't think Alta's like self-worth is like the greatest or that kind of thing, where she probably is just like, oh, I have to fix Belladonna like no matter what, even though she knows that there's like the chance she could pull that 14 card, but also she isn't really thinking about that logically because she doesn't think it would happen. But so yeah, she pulled a lot of bad cards. I don't really regret it, because I will say I do think if we didn't fix Belladonna Feeble Mind, I think we would have been in a really bad position. Like, I think we would have TPK'd. Because I know even if we went by the rules that we decided afterwards, where I was like, oh, after you long rest, you just get like exhaustion. And I know Belladonna did fit in a long rest before that fight because like her class or whatever. Or not her class, her race. I still think if she had gotten that exhaustion, like if she had taken those exhaustion debuffs, and I don't know like how much, like if Belladonna had -4 to all her rolls in that fight, like I don't know if we would have made it out. If that makes sense.
That would have been rough.
And the concentration saves would be rough as well.
Yes, actually, definitely.
Keep people in the sky.
So I think ultimately, like, it was such an L. But like, I think it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
I can't say that yet until I know what evil Alta is up to. But I'm about to finally sleep off my exhaustion.
Yeah, after like
we lived
6 sessions of resting.
It's been a while. So she's finally gonna sleep that off. And then third L, she got to the festival and she realized everyone had a date except her. Okay, finished.
What's her biggest W then?
No.
Okay.
I think I'm like Key now, where she's like, I don't want to keep talking about the Garrett Monkey fight because I feel like there probably is something, but all I'm thinking about is like, well, I guess she went to the circus and she did okay, and she got to kind of like say some stuff that she wanted to say and maybe like reach a few people, and like hopefully put on a good show for like someone like Fogo. Yeah. So if she did that, like in her mind, like that is a win, I suppose. But I don't know about like big wins. I think this says a lot about us, where we're just kind of like, I don't know what our big win is, but I can tell you about the terrible L they suffered.
Sometimes the win is surviving the L.
But it's kind of funny, yeah. It's kind of funny how like your Key, like Belladonna's biggest L is like the feeble mind, and then for Alta, it's like how you're saying how it like affects different characters differently. And with Alta, I'm like, well, the act of like desperately pulling the cards was an L, but like the actual feeble mind state like was not an L to me. Like she was just doing that. Like she didn't really care. It's just because different, as you say, like different values for the characters.
I would reckon like Gyro was a pretty good win for Alta.
She's like 40 damage flat or some shit.
Yeah, it was good. I got some boogie woogie beforehand.
Oh yeah.
It was a good risky gambit time. I think I lost a bit of money, but like otherwise it's a fun time for risky gambit. But I think Bravv got the Bravv did get the final hit. He cut her in
Yeah,
half.
she did end up in half, one way or
She did end
another.
up in half. But I did get 12 daggers and a lot of beans, so maybe that is
Yeah.
a big win.
And also to
Is
get
that where I
into
got
that
the
temple in the
dynamite? I
first
don't know.
place, the distraction to go flying up in the air, I thought was a really funny risky gambit.
Oh,
I think that might be my
it was,
favorite risky gambit.
it was a good it was good, yeah, the flying into the air. I was like, because so many of those risky gambits do nothing. So
Yeah.
if I'm like, I'm gonna make a distraction, so many of them do nothing. But
Yeah,
that was the
like, oh,
perfect
you have like a
distraction.
little bit of a limp because you have -5 to initiative or something. I'm like,
But that
I don't think
was-
that
yeah.
visually does much, you know. There's very few that I could like imagine that it does nothing visually, but most of them I think are just a little like, it might look like she like got like a little bit of pins and needles for a second. And everyone's like, okay, when's the distraction coming?
Yeah, it's always lame if I have to be like, okay, but I'm gonna do it again, you know. So
Yeah.
it's great that it just kind of happened flat.
Okay, I'm gonna roll another d4. We'll see how we're breaking through.
Sorry, I yap.
Oh no, you're
Key,
good.
did you come up with the biggest
That is-
win?
Oh yeah.
I didn't. She does not have
it has
very
no
many
wins.
wins, I don't think.
None to smile about my life.
Guys, we need to start exactly. Evan, you need to start artificially like handing us wins. I don't know.
Oopsies.
Oh,
is-
unironically, in the backstory, bullying all of Ferrum's bullies. I loved all of them.
Oh, there you go.
Like, they're not crazy wins, but they're a win for Belladonna.
Throwing one in a pot immediately and then ending it on starting the rumor that this guy is fleas.
Yeah. Just like,
Yeah.
fuck that guy.
Next question we got is another Avary one.
Is there?
Yeah. Just roll.
You sound like you had one question.
We're all right.
What?
Is there anything fun about your session 0 that you never got to share / never came up? This I'm interested because you guys all got like a peek with the backstory weed, and some of it was like some of you seen some things that you hadn't seen before. Some of you, you know, it's not canon that Robert Rifle / Ecclesi had Skittles. Because of that.
True.
Skittles?
Yeah.
Yeah, give Bravv Skittles.
You know what? I feel like we've had this discussion a lot where you say Skittles, like, oh, were they really Skittles?
I don't know if they were
We just
Skittles,
do that for like 10 minutes.
but there were
Oh, I
Skittles.
swear
on the
we've
line.
had this conversation before.
Yeah, is there anything that you guys want to share that did not come up or you thought was fun or anything like that?
See, I asked
I
this
think-
question and then I just forgot. Like,
I think for me it was because like you went through like because Belladonna's session 0 wasn't like a specific moment, it was like snapshots of a bunch of things with her life. So it started off when she was 10 and she got her whistle and when her dad said goodbye. First of all, I don't think you guys, when like Ferrum was doing the backstory weed, I don't think you ever met my mother. I think it was just like you talked to my dad.
Yeah.
it was your dad and like Gil, right?
Yeah,
And
you
Gil,
got the
yeah.
you got the whistle.
But in my session 0, I actually like the first thing I did was I went down and I like did like a practice, or like I think I had dinner with my mother,
Yeah.
and she was like, basically Belladonna's mannerisms were very different with her mother and her father, in that like she was really really like proper lady when she was with her mother, but when she was with her dad she was a little bit more like a kid. But also I don't think we went through how she met John, which was quite fun, because I think it was just like, oh, we fast forward a few years and she's on this pirate crew. I don't think or did you? I can't fully
No.
remember. No?
No, we covered in
There's-
yours how you met Captain John, but like it didn't
Yeah.
come up in that.
That was a very fun thing to roleplay, because it was my first time actually playing Belladonna mean.
Yeah. And as a
Because
doctor.
like when I first played her, obviously she was 10. Which is weird to think about, that the first time I played Belladonna was when she was 10.
Yeah.
I've done it with 3-year-old Alta. Don't worry, you're not alone.
But there was the first time of me like getting into like real actual Belladonna character, and I started off like really mean to this guy, because it was, what happened was he washed up on the Leishland shore, and the other doctors that were there, to show how incompetent the other doctors were, just like put him on a slab and were like, oh, Belladonna, this dead guy washed up.
Do an
Like,
autopsy.
yeah, do an autopsy, and she went in and he was alive, and she was like, fucking hell, why has he been like this? And like she saved his life. He like invited her to like his crew, and like that's how like that was the first time she ever tried the fancy wine, was when she met him. And it was like the same type of wine that her mother always had, but she never had actually had it before. And something that she noticed was that John was like drinking a less fancy version, but he was offering Belladonna the fancier version. So it was like, even though he was like a pirate and he didn't quite have like the polite mannerisms, he was still being courteous in giving the better option to the guest, or like the other person. So that's kind of what convinced her to take up pirating.
And then the gimmick of his crew helps, where he just loves expensive jewels and shiny things.
Yeah, and it was like, because like the concept for Belladonna was that this is something that I never brought up either, and I don't know if this is going to be brought up in the future, but the Leechlands as like an island, because it was like quite a swampy place and there weren't actually any good doctors before Belladonna came up, it was like child mortality was actually quite high. And Belladonna, her parents had like a bunch of kids before her, but they all like passed away when they were like, before they like even turned 1. And Belladonna was the only one who like made it to the age of like 10. So they took up pirating because they wanted to lavish Belladonna with all these riches. They wanted to spoil their kid. You know what I mean?
Aw.
So John coming along and being like, I can give you these fancy riches through pirating, it reminded her of her parents, and that's another reason why she took it up. So like that's just an aspect of Belladonna that hasn't actually been brought up, and I never really brought up. Because like I didn't really know how important her backstory was going to be.
Yeah. Shout outs as well at the end of the fancy dinner, whenever like Alta's mom was teaching her about like putting her elbows on the table and her posture and everything like that. Gil coming in after giving her food and giving her a silly straw,
Yeah.
a lippy straw.
Yeah, I
As soon as
forgot
her mum
about
left.
that. Yeah. Because it's like her mom was the one who instilled all these like really harsh mannerisms into her, but everybody else was like, you can be a little bit of a kid.
Aw.
And also how she met Angela. That
that
never
didn't
really
come up.
fully, that didn't come up because it was just it just like cut to Ferrum was in the sitting room with my dad, and you went out and met Angela afterwards. But I actually went up when I went upstairs to go see my dad. Evan was like, "Oh, there's like a little tank beside you, and there's like some little tiny crocodiles." And I went in and just off the top of my head went, "Oh, hello, Angela." And I reached in and like petted this little baby gator, and it bit me on the finger. And so when I went in and then I got the whistle, I came back out and like said hi to Angela, and that's how I met Angela.
Yeah.
And like neither of us planned Angela as part of Belladonna's like family or backstory. She just kind of came about.
Yeah, it's just like you go and talk to this gator so often with this whistle that grants it human-like sentience that it just becomes eventually as smart as a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a starfish in One Piece that runs a fucking like a Hollister, so I think we can play with the rules a little.
Yeah. So there was a pretty decent chunk of like stuff from Belladonna's backstory that never really like came up, but it's all stuff that like there were like small little details that aren't like important to the story necessarily.
Yeah.
But her meeting Angela, I think I love that so much because like Evan had prepared Gil as a character. I had like spoken a bit about like my parents. Neither of us planned for Angela. I just came up and was like, Gator.
It also gives you a strangely good excuse to be a pirate that you've left the town with a mare.
Yeah,
sister.
true.
You know, it's a good excuse to leave.
But that's why as well I love the joke of like when Belladonna was like, "Oh, when we first met, I could fit you in the palm of my hand," and like, "Don't act so regal when you used to bite my finger and stuff," because that is all stuff that happened in the session 0.
Aw.
Yeah, I try and play it that Angela is like she pretends that Belladonna's lying about this, And it was like, Angela, you didn't even used to wear clothes. She's like, I was always wearing clothes. I was always just smart. I was just built different.
Which is hilarious because Belladonna would absolutely lie about the same shit if she was in television.
Yeah.
They're sisters. They're so
Yeah.
Uh,
Belladonna would be like, I was born smelling like roses.
Didn't
a
cry
hat
when I
on.
came out the womb. Not once.
No.
She came out with a hat on.
Yeah. She came out like Queen Never Cry.
Yeah.
She was so nonchalant. Oh my god. Niamh or Avery, do you have any in mind? Stuff from your session 0?
I'm sorry,
Didn't come up
mine
enough?
was so long.
It's chill.
Okay.
Do you have stuff, Niamh, or do you want me to go?
I don't mind either way. You can go, and I can follow.
Sure. You guys missed Ferrum at their most like coughing baby. Yes, ma'am. Whatever you
No,
say.
there's no way.
type shit. Like it was crazy. He was like bending over backwards for like the worst people. It was so good. You did get to miss the like 2 kings of Zoe. I love them both so much. You missed they had like a little festival where all the kids came in. And Ferrum and Inca snuck in even though they were allowed to be there. It was stupid.
Yeah, they were explicitly invited, but snuck in for the vents and spied.
And then they got to like Ferrum like fell through the vent or some like shit like that. And the King of Zoe was like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah, you were already invited. It's fine.
Ferrum got to talk to the king a little bit. They got a little bit of character motivation because the guy was like, oh, you could just like leave and come back. And they were like, oh. They had a bonfire and Ferrum fell into it.
Yeah, I got Ferrum to do a roll to see how well they danced. They fell in
Yeah.
just got in that one.
This is foreshadowing
And then-
for when they were at the circus and got to
No, no.
Thanos.
And then both of the kings, who are on like terrible terms, use this to be like, oh, see, this is what happens when we try and do anything fun. And Ferrum had to like stand in the middle and be like, stop fighting! It was awful.
It's so good.
And then I don't know, you also missed Incas at his little shedus. I don't know. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ferrum also got them to like these 2 kings that lived in the same house and in different beds. And I remember there was a time where Ferrum described that to the crew, and then Alta and
Divorced.
Belladonna at the same time just went, "Did they divorced?" But yeah, Ferrum got them to like share a drink for the first time
Bless.
in forever. So that was cute.
it was very sweet.
What do you have in mind, Niamh?
Well, I guess it's kind of similar to like the except probably even more like I'm pretty sure the backstory we'd ended when like Alta like fell off the island when she was like 3.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the session 0 was not just Alta being 3 years old the whole time.
No!
That was actually like very little of the session, so I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about anything super like it was fun. I don't know if there's anything like crazy that hasn't kind of just come up already naturally, because I mean some of it was just her in the orphanage. I know we've talked about it a lot lately, Evan. So there's stuff there that like, yeah, I don't know. I guess I would like to explore more, but I think at the time it was just stuff about, I guess, her upbringing and how she was raised and how she was getting all these like I suppose one thing is that like her, I don't know how much we went into this, but like her parents used to like read her like these like fairy tales and all, and they used to like she'd have like what was it, like the hungry caterpillar or whatever.
Yeah.
And then her parents would like draw wings on the caterpillar and stuff like that. Just like I said, Jen, like all the characters in these like fairy tale books essentially, so that like she felt more represented, I
Yeah.
guess.
They like made their own
And,
adaptions essentially.
Yeah, and she had these on her like when she fell. So, and she always kind of thought like growing up, and she's only kind of recently grown out of this. I think she always thought growing up that these were like official adaptations from the
Yeah.
Sky Islands. So they were some of her like official material that came to Sky Islands, and they made those books specifically. And then so she always used to ask like the people who like ran the orphanage essentially to send more kind of like books of like fairy tales, things like that. But they would always just send books that were essentially just like fishman bad, human good.
The great battle of of whatever.
Yeah, it was just like
The fishmen
it just
were
kind of
awful.
sucked.
They bet all our children's feet off or some shit.
And then she met Yeah, and then Karam's son came, and then that's how like she learned, I guess, how to throw a knife essentially, because he like left her his knife and like taught her to throw a knife by like throwing knives at like a poster of his dad. Um, who she is now killed. GG's, but not by not by hitting him with a knife, which I feel like was a bit of a misplay on my part, but it's okay. And yeah, and then I guess it's kind of interesting then, like, I don't know if we ever went over this, but there was a time at the orphanage, I think near the very end, where she was like completely on her own, because there was always this thing where like all the other kids kind of got taken away, but like she really wanted Alta essentially for like various reasons. It was just too kind of like messy, I suppose, because of her like her volatility, but also just because like she was a Sky Islander,
Mhm.
and it just kind of meant that even though they had like all these like people would like come to like see the kids, and they would like make them like do all these tests and do all these like sports days and stuff like that, and she would do quite well, like none of them actually like wanted to go for someone like her. So there was a time where it was just like her and her caretaker for a few years, and it was more like, I guess it was more domestic kind of thing. And they used to like Alta would like, I think Alta then actually started reading like real books again, because they cared less about like shipping like government propaganda or whatever.
Yeah, there was a lot
And they
more like
used to, like-
theatrics and stuff, and then it was more just like, yeah, this is the old woman I live with, you know?
Yeah, and then they used to like make cookies together and stuff like that. And then Alta got sent away and never never like sent any letters to that woman or anything. Because she was like, well, I'm gonna go leave to be with my real family. And yeah, and then she met, well, I suppose, yeah, and then she met Calico and his dad. And I kind of like that, because I think also I probably never really kind of went into like, I suppose, like how she met Calico and his father, where it's kind of like when we had that session a couple sessions ago where they're all in the brine, and Alta's like, oh yeah, I know that guy. I'm like, I did not really explain that well at all. But
yeah, to the rest, it was more they just met Calico. And
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Bravv met his dad, but I think in character he didn't put two and two together that they knew each other. They were just kind of these two guys were angsty towards each other. I almost wondered, did Noah believe that it was like Calico is an alcoholic and this barman is fed up with his shit or something, because that's kind of how it played, rather than like
Yeah, but
estranged person.
I kind of liked it because I also essentially just kind of like, I don't know, talk no jutsu'd his father into becoming a better person.
Yeah,
And just be like, and I don't know why she like encouraged him to become an author. I don't know if that was something he was doing or whatever, if that was some kind of like dream.
he was talking about doing that, like the he was very like doomer about being a pirate, and it was a lot more of like he liked the status of it, of being a captain, but he didn't really like talk about enjoying too much about it. I think he said that like the only fun part was writing the captain's log, where you write down just what happened every day.
Okay.
And I think that just naturally turned into like, well, do you enjoy writing? And he's like, well, I'd put a little flair into it every now and then, but that's just like so I don't get bored. No, he's one of those people that like doesn't admit they like anything, and Alta kind of wormed it out of him that he does enjoy writing. And he's like, well, I'm retired now, I need something to do. So he started.
So yeah, Alta kind of just like, I suppose, encouraged him to like become an author and like become pen pals with her essentially.
Yeah,
which I like to think that they did for a while until he, rip. So yeah, and then sorry, that was just me summarizing the whole thing entirely. My bad.
That's all stuff that didn't come.
But it was mostly just that, and also she got kicked out of a few crews for doing shit. That's also that's also the origin story of how the random gay marine came after her, because I think you literally explained it as being one of the crew risks, because I think one crew she joined, or one space that she was in, you maybe roll a risky gambit, and it was like the one that makes a really loud noise. And then I think the first random gay marine that came after her, it was like, oh, he has like a hearing problem or something, because he was there at that time back in my session 0.
And then the next gay marine was like that guy's brother.
So
you killed my deaf brother, my slightly hard of hearing brother. He's dead.
Yeah. So yeah.
If everyone you kill, it's just a Matryoshka doll.
Entire summary.
Just keep getting bigger.
My bad.
No, all good. All interesting stuff. I'm gonna roll another d4. See who gets. We've had 4 free, 4 free recently. Yep.
Before we move on, I want to ask you, how did you think? What did you, Evan?
I can't see your point.
I want to ask Evan. Did you like have any expectations for Backstory Weed, or did you think it was going to go a certain way?
I think like I think now if I did the Backstory Weed stuff, I would just be excited to see what you guys would do. But I guess earlier into this campaign, I was still very in like when it came to D&D, like a lot of what my thoughts before sessions was mostly just anxiety based. So I was most likely like I didn't have like the whimsy to be like, oh, I can't wait to see what they do with this. It was just like, I really hope they don't fucking hate this. I hope they don't sit in silence and hate this, and they're all like, this is so stupid, this is such a dumb trope. Where it was just like, all I was thinking was like, I hope they don't give me, like, I hope I don't get like all of the worst things said about this because I ran it so stupidly or something, that I didn't really have any like positive thoughts. I was like, okay, as long as no one hates it, but I didn't even consider that someone would like it, so I was glad that people came out of it and talked about it. You know, I was just happy that nobody hated it, and then afterwards talking about it was quite nice. I did expect Alta's to be the one that got the most new info learned, because the idea was like, it was going into like Alta's like, because Alta didn't have like her memory like erased. She was just like really young and she went through something traumatic and kind of blanked it out. And also it was quite a quick order of events, what happened on that day for her.
I think it was very in character, because I remember at the time being like, oh, I don't actually want Alta to know about this early. So
yeah, that worked out well.
Oh god!
Because in my mind, I had
like,
more
how do I play
planned
this?
About like what was up with her dad and what was up with her mom that like Alta wouldn't have remembered. So it went well. That was how it went, because I definitely
I think I was happy with it, because I was like, I didn't want her to know too much anyway. So I was like, that's fine. I think also another thing I forgot to mention with Alta is that like I made very little of her, because I think like her backstory wise, because I think in the past I can either like give my characters no backstory, I can like overtune too hard. So Alta was me trying to sit in the middle ground. So I was kind of like, Evan, I want this character. I want them to like fall off the Sky Island and essentially like something bad happened, and then they dream of it every night, but like don't remember. But like, and then I want them to grow up in like a government orphanage. Yeah. But all like the in between, whatever actually happens to like her parents, everything. Over like, I essentially went, Evan, you have to do all the work.
Yeah, I think I give like very minimal hints as to like what her parents were, like their jobs were maybe. Whereas like her mother is more like a military type person. She had like what do you call it, like a forge outside their house essentially. And that the father was like some sort of like studying the weather, studying like vehicles or something. He was like dropping stuff off of the Sky Islands and doing different tests with the wind.
God, vehicles, my dad. He's just like my fake dad.
But yeah, in my head, I know what their whole deal is, but they're the characters I want to keep more in the dark.
See, I guess I kind of want it to be more like Alta, where it's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. So that's kind of my aim, which has been like, Evan, you just go crazy, man.
So for me, it's just like, I know, before I ran the session 0, I'm like, I know what's up with these characters, and I know what like happens after she leaves and stuff like that, and what happens to the island after she leaves. But it's gonna be way more in the dark than Belladonna learning what the Leechlands has been up to the past like couple months, you know. Like it's not something. It's something I'm just gonna hold on to the back, and then what matters or what you just want to look into is what gets described. So. Ferrum stuff I was wondering, because in my mind Ferrum stuff wasn't very like mystery oriented, and it was also the one that had the least like wiggle room, because a lot of Ferrums was Incus just being like, fucking follow me. So I was like, what do you, if you guys don't like, I guess if you guys were like, oh, I don't want to talk to Incus at all, it would be like you kind of have free reign of Zoe and you can go wherever. But like there was also the aspect of the backstory where like it shunts you back into the canon every now and then if you wander too far, like if you go out of bounds. Just so that, like, I guess, like,
Bravv.
Yeah, because Bravv was talking to Roger, and I was like, it could just happen where you're like, Roger, tell me what the One Piece is, or something like that. But yeah, I also think it's just funny to have Bravv have like his character backstory, so he has a chance encounter with like the King of the Pirates. I just think that's a very funny one, and he has like, I don't know if this came up, but I'll mention one from Bravv's. Is that Roger's second right-hand man, Rayleigh, was there, and he kept trying to get Roger to stop talking to Bravv, because Bravv was too drunk to remember, but he leaked so much information about what the One Piece was.
Yeah.
And he he was told not to give him any of like the items that he'd find that were key to finding the One Piece, like the wax that like translates the poneglyphs for you or translates the ancient language. That was a thing that I had him roll against like Rayleigh's perception to see if he could give it to Bravv. And if he didn't, he would have got like a shittier magic item, or he would have got like the effect, but it wouldn't have been able to translate things or something like that. I just remember that. There was also a thing where he asked to like, I think he asked to pickpocket Roger at one point. And I was like, oh god, I don't know what that would be. And I was like, I'm just going to roll a 1d100 on the trinket table. And he found a Tontata skull, like a little guy's skull. Because it was like you find, like, it said like you find a, like a gnomish dwarf skull. And I was like, I guess you find a Tontata skull. And he's like, I'm going to look into that. I'm like, okay. And he never looked into it, but I had like a little mini thing of like why Roger had a Tontata skull in his fucking pocket. Yeah, I think that was the only thing that didn't come up from the Bravv one.
Looking back on it, I'm so happy that the backstory who got who, because it was so fun.
Yeah. I do wonder how it would have changed otherwise, but it was such a good selection.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going to roll a 1d4. So we've got 4 free, the last ones, so see what we're doing now. It's a 1! That means Niamh.
Typical.
This one is, what is your character's luckiest moment?
Could bias is crazy.
No, that's a good one. Theming, you know. Does anyone have anything that comes to mind?
What were the ones we were talking about on the way to the shop, Evan?
I don't remember at all.
Because I remember we mentioned, for one, this isn't like... it's the luckiest moment for Belladonna, even though she was not the person who did this. But Alta putting out all the fires in her house was so lucky. That was one. Oh, and the save for the modified memory.
That was the one you were talking about. Yeah, when Makia tried to... You went to see Sludgincus, and he tried to modify your memory, and he would have made you believe a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah, that was a big one. That was a big lucky one.
Yeah, so you would have... you would have thought that was the real Incus, which would... If Belladonna came back and told Ferrum that was the real Incus, that would be... I don't know if Ferrum would look into it, you know, as much.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Ferrum and Incus will be talking right now, you know?
Yeah.
That would be interesting, because even if it was like Ferrum learns about it later, like, if in Logtown you went in believing that, it would be harder to be friendly towards him. And at some point it becomes too late, like they're beefing for too long to like undo all of that. So I think that's a big one, that save, depending on how it would have went. But he would have had you believe a lot of stuff. Like, you wouldn't have known about that they can make duplicates of people. You wouldn't have known about fake Incus. You also just would have forgot that he had abilities in general, because he would have erased the fact that he modified memory on you. I think that was crazy too, because I think that was like a DC 19 save. And I think you got it
I can't remember.
with your charisma as well, which is your shittest one, I think.
Yeah. I can't remember what I got, but I remember it was a crazy high one, and it was... Yeah, that was pure luck, and I that was a hype moment for me.
Yeah, I did.
Say. And the other one is, Alta putting out the fires in her house, because that was a session that I was like... Because the fires... We ended this last session on the fires starting, and then we started the next session on putting out the fires. Between sessions, I was like... I was terrified, because I was like, I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah, looking at your spell list, and there's nothing.
Looking for like all
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I knew exactly what I was doing. I think it wasn't even like, because I think we put out the fire, and then Ferrum used like lightning bolt, and then out of session, Evan was like,
Yeah, you didn't know about the fire. I mentioned it in between sessions.
Yeah, and we all
So I
started.
remember posting like the bottom line of lightning bolt or something like that, and then being like, by the way, there would be a fire, and then we started the next one, and I was like, this line, there's a fire. Or some shit like that.
Sorry, guys.
Avary, Niamh, any luckiest moment come to mind for your character?
Yeah, actually, I don't think specifically for the character. Obviously, with Alta, I mean, like every time she pulled the cards, she got lots of lucky moments with the cards. She got her wishes. I think honestly, when she pulled the card and the genie didn't kill her, that was actually really, really lucky.
Yeah.
Because I think that was. I think actually, it's really because it's happened so quickly, I think it's really easy to underestimate like how dangerous that was for her.
Yeah, those were some big hits.
But I think she was one hit away from dying. Like if just one of those had hit, she was gone. Or if she'd failed a death save. Yeah, I think if I'd failed one death save,
yeah, because it would keep hitting.
I would have died.
If you were dying, yeah.
Yeah, or just So, but I mean, and honestly, it ended up being a really good thing because then she got to up her stats. But anyway,
Yep.
Forward. I was thinking, like, combat-wise, I was thinking about actually that session where we were running from Garrett Makia, and he's all hasted and stuff, and then she rolls, like, the one risky gambit that casts slow.
Yes,
That was
oh
I
my
think that
God.
was really good. I think that felt really good. That was, like, probably, like, the first time I was like, maybe we can actually, like, because as you say, it's like a really hopeless kind of situation, and that's kind of like the first time I was like, okay, maybe we can we can finally like outrun this guy essentially, because he was moving so fast, and then it all kind of like, because like slow. I mean, it slowed him down, but also like he lost like I don't know how it is. Like I can only use an action or a bonus action, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just like it made things like so much easier because I just didn't believe he'd fail his save, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I
so
think
the
it was
fact that
also
she got it-
possible that he could have breathed fire twice in one turn, which, yeah. I think
Yeah,
the
so,
way
like-
that their actions are counted, that would count as his extra action, or maybe it would just be like an extra attack, but either way, it would have been pretty massive.
So anyway, like, yeah, so not only did she pull slow 1 out of 100, he actually like failed the save.
Yeah,
Which I didn't think would happen. So yeah, that was
because
I think
his
that
saves
was
were all
really
crazy.
good.
I think the lowest was like +8.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I was
Yep.
like, there's no way he fails this.
Yeah, I
Their
think
DCs were
another
like
underrated
13.
thing of that is that the plan was very much to like slow down who was carrying Roger, but also if Roger was like, if you guys were near the very end, it would have been swapping targets to just attacking Roger, who had like I remember I showed Noah and he was like, why the fuck does Roger have 550 HP? And then I think he's seen. I was like, oh, that's like how strong he is at his strongest or whatever, because I just made that for fun. And then I think he's seen like what he currently had, and it was like 18 HP or something. So like like a bit of fire going towards him is just going to knock him down, and then you're going to have to worry about, you know, lugging him around while he's making death saves, or do you stop dash actioning, you know, stuff like that. Or like even if it would just be burning more healing words, that's also stuff that you might not have had if the fight prolonged. Yeah. I think like the fact that he was slowed at that point, especially by the time you got to the pier, which is when I was like, he'll swap focus to Roger entirely if he gets to the pier. I think that changed a lot as well. You have anything in mind, Avary?
Ferrum's lucky to be alive, man.
Just in general.
I was thinking about this like a few weeks ago. Like that battle royale was fucked for him, man.
Yeah.
Came out the gate, failed to save, had to run in a direction, immediately got crit, got knocked down. Like,
yeah.
No good, very bad day. The Maki fight was pretty bad for him too, but like in a more understandably bad way.
Yeah. At least it wasn't your childhood friend stabbing you, you know.
True. It was just a guy who I hate like a lot.
That old guy I fucking hate.
It's on site, let me tell you.
Okay, we're making it for you. Let's go another D4. 2, that's a Kira one. Oh, this is an interesting one. This will probably have to start with counting. Roughly how many people do we want on the crew?
I'm surprised Key was the one to
Yeah.
ask that.
So we'll not include animals
What
for
do
the
you
sake of
mean?
it, because
Well, I mean, do you know how many there are right now?
What
do you mean?
3, 4,
Never mind.
5,
Never mind.
Not including the animals, Evan?
yeah.
Like what?
Is Squeeven an animal?
Great question.
I'd say Squeeven's probably an animal, yeah.
Okay, so there's like including on there's
There's like 5 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind
Yeah.
of low. we took some big hits.
Yeah, I guess how do you
Yeah.
guys picture in the end how many would you like to have or something like that?
Yeah, like roughly.
Because it's always going to be a thing of like with the more NPCs, it's not necessarily going to be like more or like less screen time for you guys. It's going to be more like, in my mind, like from this arc onwards, it's going to be more of a thing of like character select. Who are you bringing with like 2 NPCs or something like that?
Yeah.
Especially to stop at the like, oh, I don't want to invite any more NPCs because there's so much less time. It would be more like, well, you have more options. And I always like the NPC rule of like, outside of like scenarios where they wouldn't speak, they had to speak up. It's more so like the NPCs exist for when you want to talk to them. Like I'm not gonna have it that everyone has to have a scene talking at all times of downtime. You just kind of can know that they're there in the background, and if you want to talk to them about something, you can.
Yeah, my thing is that I don't want it to be a case of like, oh, this NPC hasn't spoken or been spoken to in like 12 sessions.
Yeah.
So like I'm fine with keeping it like relatively small, but also I
Yeah.
don't mind as long as I can like manage them in a way, I guess.
I'm feeling like 7.
Yeah, 7 or 8 is like my
yeah,
max,
that's what
I
I'm
think.
feeling. That's what I feel.
What do you think, Kira?
I'm definitely thinking like no more than like 10. I feel like that would be crazy. 7 or 8 is a pretty good number, I will say. I like that.
Yeah.
But also like I do really like the like crewmates that we have. I just don't want it to be a thing that we're like either we're recruiting people just for the sake of recruiting people. Because I feel like there's a couple of times in like other campaigns where it's just like, haha, this is a funny person, I want to invite them along. Or it's like I kind of want to just like we genuinely really like somebody
Yeah.
and like have a connection with them.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I guess my goal is just to run it in a way that like the roles don't matter enough that you need to invite like the first person that fills each role that you run into, and also the way that like selection between them would work is in a way that like you shouldn't be like, oh, we're at 8 members, so this person that we all really fuck with cannot come along, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so I think as long as it's feeling like you don't run into either of those ends, it doesn't matter. Like you guys could have 100 people if you wanted.
I think it's also fun to have guys who aren't like in the crew though, but like who you still have a
for sure.
relationship. Like I think it's just like your
Robert
ugly
Rifle.
boyfriend and stuff, like he would never. My evil fake dad, yeah.
Love him.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, big fan of Mr. Rifle there.
I actually like
He's sound enough like
huge sleeper pick. I love Robert Rifle.
That's insane. That's so funny to me.
He made impression. What can I say?
he's definitely
He showed up once and has done so
he showed
much
up twice.
damage.
He showed up. He showed up twice. Yeah, Ferrum got to talk to him the session before.
Oh, but I count that as one appearance.
No,
it was
no.
the same place.
He's got aura.
Isn't he
He
like
does have
also,
aura.
isn't he also like canonically related to Bravv?
Oh yeah, that's true. Actually, he showed up by session 0 technically, and I guess probably the weed session.
Yeah.
So.
He was
There
the
you
one
go.
that gives sweets. No, he wasn't the one that gives
Oh
sweets.
my
He was there.
God.
Oh, never mind. He was there.
He was there. He
That's
was the one
fucked
that Ecclesia was talking to, but he didn't give the sweets.
Yeah, him and Bravv are related. That's the deep cut.
Yep.
That goes
Saw
in
through the
iceberg,
multiverse,
actually.
and he's like, "Why does this little girl remind me of my future son, or my son that I've abandoned, or something?" I don't know. I just
I
remember
thought
that.
he was his uncle.
I think I told Noah that like because he wanted to roll if he was his dad or not, and then I rolled and I was like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Okay, I'm
He
just gonna
rolled a
leave
1
that
on
to you."
history, as far as I know.
Yeah.
You made him roll history to his dad, and he rolled a 1, which is kind of like, where does that leave us?
Yeah, and I asked him to decide if he wanted to. He never got back to me, but he did say that he did reference the fact that he had a gun-shaped birthmark on his leg.
Yeah.
That was a great callback to the Robert Rifle lineage, I suppose. So yeah, I think I like made it in a way where I'm like, it's he calls it the Robert Rifle and Sons because that's also just like a nice way of making your company sound more working class, I guess, or like more approachable than like Drill Corp or some fucking like stone like cement bullshit. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna roll for the next one. 2 again. Kira, where are your questions? Oh, big one. What are you guys most looking forward to in the campaign? Like, is there any thing you're excited to look into? Is there any moment you're looking towards? What's just your most look forward to moment / thing?
Genuinely,
I'll just stop being alone. Sorry, go on.
genuinely looking forward to seeing the Sky Islands.
Oh, yeah, me too. Obviously, it's gonna be good.
I accidentally drew Belladonna looking like a Christmas tree.
Oh, the color is
Sorry,
really cute.
what?
Obviously, like, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to, like, the figuring out what the deal is with, like, my mother. And, like, why does it one of the 5 elders know who she is? But I feel like that's, like, way down the line sort of stuff. The thing I'm most excited for right now is, like, it's getting on the back and the Sky Islands are, like, my 2 big ones at the moment, because I know that, like, getting on the back is, like, it would be my next priority, personally, but we have to, like, figure out a way to get in contact with him first, and we don't exactly have a choice on where to go in regards to the Grand Line, unless we find, like, one of those ones that points to a specific island. We do just kind of have to island hop rather than go somewhere specific.
We do have one that points to a specific island, which is the island where you catch the boats to go to the sky thing, whatever, to go to the Sky Islands. But you're still right. We don't have a choice because that is, I think, the only compass we have.
Yeah.
So you're right. We don't have a
So
choice.
that's probably going to be our next one since we have it. And I'm not paying these extortionist bastards.
I guess obviously, I mean, I'm biased. It's like, oh, I want Alta stuff. That's exciting. I really just want Alta to have, like, I don't know. I really like when I play a D&D character and they get lots of trauma. It, like, speaks to me. It actually, like, makes me go crazy. I love it so much.
I love putting.
I just really want things to get bad.
I really love it when Belladonna gets put into situations she would hate.
Exactly. It's so good. I love when the character gets put into situations.
Yeah.
I love the minor Belladonna situations. I love when she's just miffed.
I'm obviously glad as well because I frequently do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Put her in
Love
a
to miff
situation
her.
where she is miffed. I love to miff. Hobbies miffing Belladonna. But
Unironically, I do love the old jokes.
Okay, good.
I think they're so
Completely
Belladonna might not.
concerning. Good. I'm glad we could get that.
yeah.
Out, 'cause I felt very
Belladonna
bad.
is gonna fucking flip her lid soon, though.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, I would be upset if she didn't. But yeah, I don't know. I think Alta's at, like, I don't know, a point with her character now, where I'm like, I think it really could just really crash and burn for her, or she could actually, like, do something good with her life.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm excited to find out which it is.
Yeah, it definitely feels like she's on the verge of, like, the do or die moment.
Yeah. So that's exciting. Excited for her to meet some people, I suppose.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have some confrontations. I love, like, I don't know. I like evil villain confrontations. So I just hope she gets one instead of, like, killing people, like, essentially pretty much off screen. Like, it's not off screen, but it feels like off screening.
You guys also have the ability, if you wanted to request a warlord meeting, if you wanted to try and make contact with the guy before.
Oh god.
Horrible.
I think he would just kill Alta, actually, surely, on the spot. I don't...
Then he'd lose his warlord status.
I recognize you from when you were 3. Like,
To be fair, he knows her name, and she just announced herself on, like, TV, and he would have been watching, right? Because I completely forgot. Also, that's another thing I'm a little regretful about, is I completely forgot that it was being broadcast to Renua.
Yeah.
So Alta was, like, when she was making her speech, she was just talking to, like, the island. But I'm like, if I had known that she was, like, talking to Renua as well, I would have definitely said some things differently.
Okay.
So that's a regret. But yeah, no, he would definitely know who she is because she just, like, announced herself. But that's kind of the fun of it, you know?
Yeah. I guess also it makes sense that she would be mostly addressing the audience in front of her because they're the ones giving feedback. Like, Renua might be watching, but it's not like anyone is calling from there.
Yeah. Should have broken the fourth wall a little bit, though.
Avery, do you have any things you're looking forward to mostly?
I'm
Like
big
main ones?
invested in the mysteries with the Skylanders and Belladonna's mom. I can't lie. Like, I'm hugely invested in the little like soap opera going on in Zoe with these divorced dads, but like,
And our
We love a
hearts
bit of intrigue.
yeah, true, and their hearts. Oh
our
my
hearts that are
god,
just too full of love and devil fruit pies.
exactly, full of wine. I don't know. I'm excited. Like, I'm a bit stupid. I'm bad at putting pieces together, even when I have all the notes in front of me. But like,
Me.
yeah, I'm excited. My god, especially when a lot of build-up has gone into stuff. It's good to see that pay off, I think.
Yeah. It definitely feels like at this point we're past like the tons of build up, you know?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot more just like doing shit. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. I get you though. I think
It's
like
fun too.
I think also there's like a lot of setup that there's different ways you could approach the Sky Island specifically. Like Robert Rifle was saying that like the reason he's working with this guy is because he has this background as a pirate, and a lot of stuff he's getting away with is kind of shady, but like the fact that he gets the warlord approval kind of like shields him
Yeah.
from it. So he was like, if you guys do become a warlord crew, I would not be against jumping ship, you know? Well, he's like, I can't just go back to being whatever I was, you know? So
Yeah.
there's that approach. There's the fact that you can get to a warlord meeting. There's a lot more contact between warlords that is more viable rather than a warlord to a pirate crew.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then also there's like, you know that there's different ways you can go up there. There's the circus people go up there. There's rich people go up there. You can try and like hijack a fucking airship if you want. Adwa is also willing to try and make you guys, or like make an extension for the sailing scimitar. That might take some time to make it into an airship. So yeah, I think there's options. So I'm excited to see how that goes. D4. Me. Oh, this will be a short one. Does anyone have a favorite item? Or like item
Yes.
that they think is cool? No, Niamh, let's hear yours.
No, I'm not answering that.
Okay. Here you
can
go.
guess.
You've got it. Kira, what about you?
I love the whistle because it, oddly enough, the whistle is nostalgic.
Yeah.
No, I totally get that. It's your session 0 item.
Yeah, it's a session 0 item. I also fucking love shield just because I love the concept. I just remember her getting hit with a boulder and I was like, nope, shield, but it's like it's flavored as an umbrella.
Yeah, in the tree fight that just
Yeah.
this tree throws a giant fucking boulder the size of you and you just put your umbrella
Yeah.
up and it doesn't hit.
The boots I've gotten so much use out of recently.
Oh, they're so good.
They're so good. But I think I'm really excited for this book as well. I haven't done anything with it just yet, but everything about the book is like really cool.
Yeah, we were saying we can use Speak with the Dead, like, pretty soon.
Yeah. But yeah, probably shield because I love the concept of like it being an umbrella. That she just shucks her umbrella and people piss off. It's so funny.
Key, you were supposed to say that it was the dynamite bouquet that Ferrum and Alta made for you so lovingly.
Yeah, you had to put that in the fridge, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought you were talking specifically about like magic items.
No. I mean, I do like my beans as well, I must say.
Beans are fun.
Yeah.
Beans are very fun if you remember that, like, more often than not, even if they are good for you, it's best to run away after you put them down. Because, like, you can definitely, like, put a bullet in someone's bedroom and leave. And that's good for you guys. But it's not good for you guys if you also stick around, you know? Or you're not, like,
I'm glad that didn't happen to
at a
Belladonna.
range you can run. Yeah, that would be funny.
I do need to, like, restock on beans.
Yeah.
Just
Find
something I need
supplier.
to...
That's
Or,
what you
like,
can ask.
gyro
That's what you can ask the
Where
dad.
did you get your beans? Let's go play gyro. Where did you
Or
get
like
your
growing a
beans?
tree out of a person.
Was that the beans, or that was like a risky gambit thing? I can't remember.
That was the beans.
That was
you
a
planted that
bean.
shit in him.
Because I remember
Did I?
planting the beans.
I thought I like
No, I don't think
rolled like
so.
a random item, and it was like an acorn, and I fed it to him, and then that grew.
That's what it was. You're right.
Oh,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't the
Yeah.
beans.
I just remember you feeding him something.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
giant acorn,
I fed him an acorn. I don't know why I fed it to him.
A lot of things grew there, you know. There's
I think I encouraged
Yeah.
you to feed it to him.
the acorn appeared, the
Well, if
tree
the doctor
appeared,
says so.
and then oh yeah.
because I was like, you can't make anything worse. And guess what happened?
It was so good. It was just such a comedy of errors. I don't know.
It did make it look
I
a lot
remember
more
it-
premeditated, though.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing about sessions towards the end, when I was making the wish, you guys were just like, should we just pretend the session never happened?
Oh yeah, should we
Disastrous.
rewind it?
Yeah, I wish to go
But I'm
back
so
in
glad we
time
did.
24 hours.
No, but that was literally the debate we were having, and I'm so glad we
I
did.
remember.
We pulled through. I am sorry, though.
No, it's fine.
Just a little.
I do find it very funny because I think I remember like talking about it being like that I was like excited to do some like messed up shit and like I what I wanted, I don't know if I like ever explained this in session and if like our audience know this. I can't remember. Like I was planning on haunting him and shit. But like genuinely how it went, I'm kind of glad of how it went. Because I think it's just so funny that he died
I'm
so
sorry.
horrifically and
I actually
pathetically.
felt so bad.
No.
I felt so bad about it.
No,
So
don't.
like,
because,
I didn't know how big a deal this guy was to you, Belladonna, and I was like,
It was very much he
I
happened
saw
to be the one that like they happened to like bury some treasure on an island and it set off like a warning bell to the Marines and an admiral came and he happened to be the one that wiped her out.
Yeah, because like I thought it was going to be like a big mystery as to why an admiral went for a seemingly small crew, but it just turned out that he liked getting money.
Well, there was something else
I
that
was like,
like
"Jeez."
an admiral was called to there. It wasn't that he just ended up there.
Yeah, but like it
So
didn't have
something they
anything to do
did
with, like,
triggered an admiral coming.
yeah, it wasn't specifically like John wasn't like secretly some like big pirate or anything like that. It was just
Yeah.
like wrong place, wrong time situation.
Yep. Yeah, it didn't matter who was on that island. Something would have triggered
Yeah.
like a certain thing, and
So,
an admiral
I
would
was-
have come.
still sorry.
Yeah.
But
Just like,
I am low-key happy with how he died.
you don't have to
And
say
that
that.
we desecrated his body.
I was just like, oh, Belladonna will find like, oh, this will be great revenge for Belladonna when I turn this guy into a raccoon.
I always picture that moment as like Alta is just as they're running is just saying sorry over and over again, and Belladonna is just like freaking out and has forgotten it's happened with the stress of everything that's going on. And then I just picture like after Belladonna's long rest, she just kind of like thanks her. It's like that was
Yeah.
pretty cool actually.
Yeah. Just like, you know what? In hindsight, he died.
He took the gamble, you know.
Yeah.
Good job, Alta. Now give those cards to Ferrum and let them walk away.
Real.
I got to see him as a senile old man.
And then he died.
So, and then he
You won the
died.
age off.
Congrats,
It's
you
getting pretty
outlasted
close
him.
there.
Hey.
Avery, do you have a favorite item you can think of?
Oh, Evan, the items you gave me light up my brain a certain way, I can't lie.
Yeah.
I love, like, okay,
Ferrum is
As a
like
sent-
4 gloves or whatever.
stop. They're so cool. Sentimentally, big fan of the fox mask. Inca's giving me like wall hacks on him.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Yeah, I kind of wanted that to be like the first hint that he's not just the big bully or whatever, because he was quite a dickhead in the session 0. But also he's like
That's not how I remember
the
it,
fact
for
that his
real.
like biggest strength is that he can sneak up on people and he gives Ferrum a mask is just like, hey, this is where you'll know where I am.
Yeah,
I think
it's very
kinda
cute.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really need to use it anymore, so it's just nice to keep around.
Oh yeah, wasn't it Incas that also gifted Ferrum their chef's tools?
Yeah, he gave him like super blunt chef knives. It's like, well, you don't need sharp stuff.
Yeah, they also didn't trust the children with sharp tools, so Ferrum just had like Ferrum's like knife for cutting meat and stuff was just like a baseball bat essentially, and they just hit it really hard and it split. I thought that was funny.
I love that so much. And like the wraps, I know that I don't have like control over whether I get successive hits on unarmed strikes, but it feels calculated every time I do it. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like seeing like the
Extra
slot,
D4.
the slots go into place and hit like 3
No, no,
sevens.
no, no, no. Let's not talk
Lots,
about
you
gambling
say.
here. Not when even calls.
Whoa. Yeah, we're not
Um,
gonna go back to that cat and play the slot machine.
it just, I don't know, it
That's
lights
what
up my
you got.
brain in a certain way.
That's what you guys blow all your new money on. You just go to the cat and it's like, we need to get the
It's also
prizes.
just like,
True. Oh my god, thanks for the idea, Evan.
Yeah.
no. Also a big fan of the new ones. I like burrow speed. There's going to be
Burrow speed's so
shenanigans.
fun.
Yeah.
Also, like, you just keep giving me things to do off of an unarmed strike, and I think that's cool.
Yeah. I like whenever it does. It feels like I guess like linear in some ways.
Yeah, it feels like an extension of what they have already rather than like adding on, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, like it would. I think it would be just as useful utility wise and stuff if Ferrum was like, oh, you have like this like a crossbow attachment to like a gauntlet or something like that, because it does give them new options and could do cool shit. But like, I think Ferrum is just best whenever they're like, they pick a fight with one person and they can just go like to town beating the shit out of them. And
that's monk,
now that
baby.
gives like, now that like the shoving is gone from the sumo wrestler subclass, the
Yeah.
Thunderwave kind of takes that role in my mind.
Just send people flying. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fun. It's also just like I can do so many different damage types on one turn. It's great.
Yeah, fire, electric, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, thunder now.
Yeah.
Big.
And the list will only get bigger.
True. Okay, I'm rolling another d4. Let's see what we got. Me again. Oh, guys. You guys love me.
We do.
So do the
we
dice.
do.
This is a bigger one.
That's a big one.
Yeah. What was the vision for your character originally, and how has it changed?
Gulp.
Ooh.
So, like, what things might not have stayed? What things did stay? How did you see your character being played? Just, I guess, more of a general thing of just like, is there stuff that like, is there a thing that happened that changed how your character went, or were some things not fun to play, or stuff like that? Does anyone
For
have
me,
any?
a big thing is that Belladonna was meant to originally be much more of a bitch.
Oh, you have to describe your
was
plan
meant
for
to
what
be,
she
But
did after
Alta did the
combats
job
too.
so well.
Yeah, she was first of all, she was meant to be like a lot meaner to people. But I think like you guys, I think Alta in particular really melted her heart so quick. I was
That's how
just
she gets you, and then she hits you, and then she tells you you're old. The old one too.
and it was just like, I think it was just like because Alta was like so pure and so innocent, like when they first met, and she was just like, I can't be mean to her. She's so full of whimsy. So Belladonna was meant to be much more of a bitch. She was meant to be much more like a lot darker, I think, because like I gave her a fairly dark backstory in that like she went to prison and was like a slave in prison and all this.
Did
she
you
was
go
meant
up
to,
with that stuff, or did I just add that shit in? I don't even remember.
I
I remember you
said that like
Oh yeah, you did, because you had it about like her, how she ended up like dead.
yeah, I was like she
Yeah.
made herself a concoction in prison that was like based off of these chemicals she was forced to work with.
Keep in mind, this was a
Well-
year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I was looking. This was like September was the start of this of 2023. Was when I started running those one shots.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So she was meant to be like a bit more like gross as well, because like she was meant to be like much more plague doctor-esque in that like she used like leeches in medicine. She like wholeheartedly believed that like leeches were the cure to everything, which is why the island she's from is called the Leechlands.
Yeah, and more mortician than surgeon.
Yeah, she was much more meant to be like mortician than actual doctor. She was like meant to be after combats, like she wanted to like harvest their organs and stuff like that, and like study dead bodies all the time. She was meant to have this like much more of an obsession with dead things than she ended up having. And now she's just like a bit more of a deer. Like an elder. So that's the biggest thing for Belladonna, I think. She's meant to be a lot more gross. She was like meant to have, what was it? there was meant to be this like running joke with her I wanted to implement, which is that she doesn't believe in anesthesia. But instead, she had a wooden mallet that she would knock out her patients with. And the joke was going to be that with her accent, she named the mallet Anastasia, and with her accent, it sounded like she would say like, "I'm going to give you anesthesia," and it would sound like she's saying anesthesia, but then she just whipped this hammer out, and then later I named my steed Anastasia. So that's where Anastasia came from. Fun fact. So
she was
meant to
once
be.
a hammer.
She was once a hammer. Now she's a horrific monster that I love so dearly.
She's whatever she wants to be.
Yeah. So like that's kind of like the more of the vibe I was meant to have with her. She's meant to be much more gothic, much more grotesque, and stuff. So yeah, that's Belladonna, I think. I can't remember if there's much more I wanted to implement with her originally, other than just she's meant to be worse.
And how would you put it as like if you were going to look at it from like a character development perspective from the start of the campaign? What would you think of that way?
I did want it to be that like her being on the crew, she would like become softer. I think it just like it happened in 2 sessions instead of 100. Character progression wise, I think she's definitely it's become much more of a like she realizes how privileged she is through Alta and Ferrum. Like she's seeing how awfully they're being treated by just existing. And like she thought she had such a rough life living in the Leechlands, but she was like, that's just a tough island. Her being like she could like leave the Leechlands so easily and live a normal life anywhere else, whereas it's so hard for somebody like Alta or Ferrum or Fogo to just live every day. So instead of being like a hard as nails woman being softened, it's now like a white woman realizes her privilege story.
It reminds me too of that session where Alta and Belladonna had like the bit of the falling out whenever the hot air balloon was first being used. And like the difference in like that Belladonna has had this like incredibly harsh life, but she also has a very strong sense of her identity and like the nation that she's from, and she has a lot of memories that she can cling to, and a lot of like her house itself is meant to be this in this land where everything rots. They have these perfectly preserved memories and like loads of pictures of the family and stuff like that. Like so, it's so well preserved that she managed to find like Viver cards of pointing to where her family would be. I think that's a big difference as well, is that at least she has things she can look back on fondly, you know?
Yeah, like with like Alta saying that like telling Belladonna like you don't get it was absolutely true, even though Belladonna is so proud she wouldn't admit it. But like Belladonna has never had an identity crisis. She's always known who she is, and like even when Ferrum was like coming up to her and like being so vague and that they're trans, she was just like
what do you mean you're not sure? What do you mean there's something happening? I knew who I was since I was 10.
Yeah, again, Queen never cry. Like
the last change in my life was when my sister turned out to be I got alligator sister.
Yeah. Just like the only thing that ever rocked the boat was when her parents died, and ever since then she's been smooth sailing. But like I never really expected her. I never expected her to be so motherly either. Like she's so protective and like worrying over her crew so much. So like I really like how she's gone character-wise. And like as a story, I think now her new character arc is to like she has to go almost like she has to take a step back in that like now she's gotten too protective of her crew because she's now aware of how dangerous the world is for them and the fact that they are like I mean I know Alta's not a teenager, but like Alta's like 20, 22. In her mind they're very much still like kids. So she's in an incredibly protective stage right now, and she's like, her new like arc is probably going to be like learning to take a step back, or like when to step in, when to step back. And I think definitely the hot air balloon incident is like, it was a great moment. I loved it.
That's very sweet. Avary, what were you thinking?
Dude, I'm so embarrassed by early Ferrum. I was thinking about this yesterday. Because, like, initially, and I think you can tell if you look at, like, the sessions, or if you look at, like, any of the stuff I was, like, writing or, like, doing pre-session 1, like, Ferrum was very much vibes first, make a guy who is little and has a whole lot of fun. And I mean that derogatorily, like, it was not a good decision, I think. But the good thing about making a really shit decision on the offset is that you can kind of steer it.
Course
And
correct,
you
yeah.
can pivot it. Yeah, like, because there was a lot of stuff I enjoyed about it. Like, it was good to play a like younger character without it being like necessary. Like, I think he was so fucking stupid, but like, without it necessarily being like a joke character through and through. Like, there were very sincere moments that I can still remember of like the crew being like, okay, well, like, this is a kid. We need to take care of this one. Like, we need to, like, post battle royale being like, oh, like, do we tell them that this isn't the real Incas? Like, that'd probably fuck them up. They'd probably develop some kind of complex if it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of stuff like that. But like, ultimately, what am I even answering the question? Yeah, I am. Okay. Ultimately, the vision took a pretty big shift where I went into my little cave and I spent like 3 months like doing a massive course correct that I didn't know necessarily when it would happen, but I knew it was coming. And then we got to it like very recently, and it feels easier. It doesn't feel like I'm like because before it was very much a thing of like, you're just a miner who doesn't know like the horrors of the world or whatever, but like now it's definitely like easier to think of what Ferrum would think about something and actually give him a stance on something rather than having him just be like spectating the adult conversations.
Yeah.
Like, it feels easier to take part.
How do you feel like about like Ferrum, like character development wise? Like, what do you think? Are there like any moments that stand out, or like times where you felt like, oh, I want to change something, or any like moments that happened in series that like kind of motivated you to change stuff?
I think having Incas as like a contrast point, because he was so productive and Ferrum wasn't for so long. Like, that was the guy doing stuff and Ferrum very much wasn't, and like didn't really click that he could or should, that it just kind of made the guy lock in. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Yeah.
and then obviously like Makia, scariest guy ever, definitely made them like not only stand up for themselves a little bit, but like grow the fuck up, you know?
Yeah, I get you. I think there's definitely a lot of stuff with like younger characters about like being exposed to the world, but I think like Makia was definitely the first like mountain that was kind of blocking the horizon, kind of like pushed out of the way, and you can like, now it's up to you what to do next. And I like how like the Ferrum had like his own way of like reconciling with Incus, or how to like, how much does he want to forgive, how much, like, because you learn that it was this like clone of Incus, but it also was Incus with like maybe like a day less fought, you know, like he was still willing to try and kill Ferrum and all this stuff, and was going to kill Ferrum, or like stab Ferrum when they're down. But obviously you can tell there's manipulation there. But like, when does that go away? Incus has this thing where he just, when he goes against Makia, he gets these visions or these memories of when he got decapitated by one of the elders and stuff. So like, how much is it ever truly gone? And like, kind of it's nice to see that they reconvene in that way. And I don't think that's I guess it's nice to see, because I don't think that's a scene that you would have thought at the very start would have been happening with Ferrum and Incus, I guess, like, not as sincere.
Yeah. I like how that stuff developed a lot. Like, out of all the stuff Ferrum's done so far, like, a lot of the recent stuff is probably my favorite, because I felt like I was an active participant in it instead of letting it happen to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's been fun. I feel like I'm in a better spot with them right now.
That's good. Niamh, what are you thinking?
What am I thinking? I'm thinking Alta had so many bits that I dropped like immediately. Like even like through session 0, I was like, fuck, this is terrible.
Yeah.
She had so many bits. What does she have? So obviously I was like, she introduces herself in this way, right? Which is really
Mhm.
annoying. It used to be that she would like, I had it that she would like always follow it up with like a fun fact or something like that. So I had a
Yeah.
list of like facts that Alta could tell about herself. It would be like had like all her favorite foods, like her favorite animals, like her favorite birds, her favorite colors. She would just try to like she had read like that was a way that you like make friends with people because
Mhm.
obviously she she didn't have any friends growing up. Boo hoo. But so she would like always try to, I guess, get like kind of over familiar in that way and just start like yapping and just like saying random like giving random trivia essentially to get closer to people. But I
Yeah.
think I did it like once in the session 0 and I was like, this actually seems like the most annoying thing. So I was like, this would actually get insufferable. It's bad enough that she does her thing where she's like, I'm Altalune. So
See, I
I was
fuck
like,
with
okay,
that though.
she's not doing that. Um, then also, and Evan, I know
Mhm.
we were definitely discussion about this. She was like, obviously, she learned everything she could about the Sky Islands, but I think ultimately I decided it actually was way less than I think I had planned for her. I don't know. It was kind of like I had it that like she had like some like literature or something about the Sky Islands, and she like read a little bit about it, and she read that they all like greeted each other with like fucking bunny ears, and she was supposed to like really emulate that. And I have art of her somewhere that I drew like really early on of just her with bunny ears on because she took it way too literally, and she would go around introducing herself to others like that.
Yeah.
But that was also really stupid, and I think that was funny because I know like a couple of sessions ago when she was at the festival, she was greeted that way, and I was like, she doesn't know. She doesn't know.
Yeah.
I decided like she's not gonna know about that because, but originally she was meant to, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not
I
gonna
think
have her do
originally
that.
I was said it was like it was a tradition that you'd learned of from like a specific Sky Island, like I said, like Skypiea or something. So the idea was also just I was hinting at that like those people also don't really know what's going on. They're doing like it's like it's kind of like I guess the equivalent of like going to like a Korean person and saying konnichiwa, and they're being like, oh, it's
Yeah,
close
yeah, yeah.
enough, Well, it's like you're not really getting it.
I think, yeah. I think with Alta, I just wanted to, like I said, I can overtune my backstories a little bit. So I kind of wanted to just make, I really like the kind of character where they're just like, they're really happy and they're whimsical, but like deep down, they've got issues. And I really
Yeah.
just like the idea of a cheerful, whimsical rogue, I suppose.
Mhm.
Because I mean, there's nothing really wrong. I can like my dark, edgy characters definitely, but
Mhm.
I do really like the idea of just like a happy, whimsical little rogue.
Yeah, it's not often
Um,
you see the rogue being the distraction too, which is quite an interesting thing. Usually the rogue is like the one
yeah,
that's taking advantage
sneaking in
of the
while someone
distraction.
else
Yeah.
does distraction. Yeah, I know. Oh, also, she was meant to. She this was another bit that she was meant to have, where she was meant to be like she believed everything she read. So she would, because obviously this whole fairy, like I really kind of dropped the fairy tale stuff because I don't know. I don't think I took good enough advantage of it. Like I think it could have come up a lot around like gyro and stuff, but I was like, I don't know. I was just not taking any of the bait. I don't know why. I think I was just an idiot. So I didn't really take as much like chance as like as many chances I should have to I think bring it back in. But she was meant to have this bit where like she believed everything she read, so she would like read all these stories about like dragons and like the water or something. So she would read something. So she would get kicked out of crews because she would like falsely tell them to do something or navigate one way or another because she had read somewhere that she'd read some myth or something that
Yeah.
says, oh, actually, like something will happen at this way, and it essentially just got everyone really mad at her. But it was just too difficult to keep up. And also, after the books that she was getting to read ended up just being like in the session 0 ended up being government propaganda. I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I think it's totally reasonable to like play a character that way. I think it'd be really interesting, but it's not the route I really wanted to go for Alta.
Yeah.
So yeah, essentially she just lost a bunch of bits like really early, and I think it was good. I think it was a good call because I think she was already too much about. I think I feel quite similarly about early Alta as you do about like early Ferrum Avary. I think she was too stupid. Like, I mean, I like some of it. I like the whimsy, and I think it is appropriate because a lot of it is like Alta is like it's this kind of naivety and like she doesn't know. I guess she's kind of living in ignorance essentially, so she can be all this like happy-go-lucky because she's in ignorance, but also like, girl, you're not a child. So she was a little too childish for me at first, but it was somewhat appropriate, I guess, because that was kind of being her arc where she's just been like, she has single-minded goal. Hey, I want to get home to the Sky Islands, but she doesn't necessarily think there's anything wrong with like her upbringing or the islands necessarily. It's just she doesn't remember anything from her Also, actually, that was another thing. I kind of dropped the dreaming stuff pretty early on, I think. That wasn't really on purpose. I think it just there's no real reason, I guess, for it to come up because like
that was the thing.
It would just be repetitive.
That was the thing I purposely took out of it because I remember when you were talking about how you were liking that Alta didn't remember too much from like the backstory weed stuff. I was like, oh, I think with the dream stuff, I was like, that can be definitely a thing that she has and deals with, and it's like kind of a thing where like those memories play over and over again. But I didn't want it to be a way where she would discover like a lot of new stuff by having a dream.
No, absolutely.
So I
absolutely agree with that.
As much.
I just think I was like, oh, I keep forgetting that so I think I probably will have to lean. I think next long rest she has, I will be like, oh yeah, she had the dream again. Because I think she is having them.
Yeah.
But there's no point in playing them out because obviously it's the exact same thing again. But I do think I kind of like, I just started forgetting to, I guess, I suppose it wasn't necessarily something I needed to draw attention to, but I kind of forgot that it was happening. And also it was this big thing that like, she woke up, and every time she woke up, she didn't remember anything, but she knew she had to like get up there and like tell them something. And like she remembered like the guy's name. Well, she didn't remember the guy's name, but she remembered she remembered his name as like Exma. And like that was how she felt like every single time she woke up, which I probably just I don't know, I just fell out of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, not a big deal.
I get you. I also think there's a lot of stuff with the setup of the specific campaign that, like, for any of the characters, if there's something you kind of want to, like, you dropped or that you wanted to bring back in, there's also, like, a unique setup of, like, all of the characters now have very much of a thing of, like, they didn't really have a place. They were, like, with the Calico Pirates, it was, like, they were accepted there, but they also were kind of, like, one of many faces. And now it's more like they are the people that define the crew. So, like, I think there's a lot of stuff, like, some characters could be like, oh, well, I can't draw too much attention to myself in these ways, or I can't really be my true self, or, like, there's already a defined culture here, versus now it's like, if any of you guys, like, had stuff you wanted to reinvite, I guess it's more like, it feels to me like the crew is kind of comfy and has, like, defined for themselves what the space of the crew is like, I guess.
Sure.
I like that bit there. What were you going to say, Karen?
I was just going to say, I do like when people find their like basically the equilibrium with their characters, because like you were saying that like you dropped a lot of bits for your character, and Avary, you were saying that you just like you made Ferrum just like too silly as a creation, whereas I felt like I was the opposite route where I made Belladonna way too serious, and like the addition of like bits and like silliness into her character is what made her a more well-rounded character. So it's like you don't want to make a character that's too silly, but you don't want to make a character that's too serious either.
Yeah.
But like I think it's fine to start off with a character being
one way or the other.
One way or the other, and you just slowly introduce the other aspects. Because I don't think Belladonna would be as funny as she is right now if I made her start off this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if Belladonna was how you originally planned her, like the free doctor scene would be her being like, okay, whatever, and walking away, you know?
Yeah.
Not engaging. I think that's also just a thing that I have struggled with in the past making PCs, is just there's such a big line of like everything seems perfect and you really like the character, and then it comes time to playing them, and like playing them in the world and playing them around the other PCs and playing them in NPCs and like remembering to
Don't
bring
have to
things
tell
up.
me, man.
Yeah, it's such a thing of just like the difference between
Ugh.
playing and planning.
Yeah.
And sometimes I end up liking the characters more. Like there's some PCs I've played where I wasn't super excited about them going in, and then as soon as they bounce off other people, I'm like, okay, I figured them out. So there's always going to be that awkward period at the start. Well, I guess for most people there would be. But I guess the one thing I would have is just like sometimes with a character I have to make choices where I'm like, here they would definitely set like a hard line and say no to doing this, but for the sake of the fact that it is a campaign, I have to avoid it. And then there's always that split of like, well, these are the things I know that are true about the character that can't come up in the campaign, so there's almost a split. And I think as long as you try and make sure that like the version of your character that exists in the campaign is the one you prefer, it's always fun to have both of those kind of paths. Like this is how this character would have responded to this in a way that like it would have been bad for the game, but it would have been good for them. As long as you like both versions of those characters, I think it's always fun to think about like the AUs, I guess, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's always the fun part. For me.
We did have very fun AU recently of how the characters could have been.
Do not ask what happened to Alta.
That should be an SPS.
Either
what would your
Alta.
character be in an alternate timeline where Incus was the captain? You know,
Dead.
Cruel.
Bear would have his driving license. Bear is great at driving though. You know, he's got land vehicle proficiency magically.
Who's better than flipping Alta with those 10 levers? Anyway.
I thought that was such a funny reveal as well. That like you guys had known from the one shot we did, and like his car as well. Like I don't think Ferrum went in it, but you seen that there was just the free levers. And I was like, that was the simplified version of the I don't know what it was called, like the aspect of like Qualish or something. It was like this lobster car that I thought was so funny. So I simplified my own version and made it just free. But I was like, but for this, you know, he doesn't want to let those ones just hang around anywhere. So he has like the shitty versions, and I thought it was really funny to open it and see 10 levers.
If I got Bear like down to go with me, could I got an advantage on all my checks? Because he's so
go for his
knowledgeable
proficiency.
in that car. Damn.
And Wheeler
But no,
wowing
yeah.
with different pedals. It'd be really funny.
Anyways,
if he had
yeah.
them left.
I think we've hit on like a good handle with our guys now in terms of development. Because I think Alta is like, yeah, I think for a while she was quite stagnant, I suppose. And then, but then I think it has been okay. I think I'm happy with how it kind of all panned out, I suppose, in the end, even early on, because I mean, she did stuff like she was so. I think the whole point of her character was essentially up until after she fell out that hot air balloon, or I suppose rather up until like she has that conversation where she apologizes for going out in the hot air balloon. She's like fully single-minded, like focused on the Sky Islands, and like nothing else really like registers to her. So I mean, like she's nice to the crew and she's like friendly to them and she's happy that like she's found some place that she gets on with. But like her number one priority is still like getting home, and she hears about stuff like the circus and like she internalizes that like crazy because it's like a link to her home, and that's like the number one thing that matters. And then when she's at like the Battle Royale and Ferrum's like, oh, here's some ticket or whatever that like can get you like to the circus, such a this like there's this way that you can like get home. And then she like thinks about it, and it's like meant to be like the greatest thing ever that's ever happened to her, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But then at the moment she's thinking about like, oh, she could have to like say goodbye to all these people like really, really soon. Yeah. And she's shocked that like, because even though like she's obviously like a really friendly person or whatever, she's like surprised, I guess, that it matters so much because she was able to like leave like her orphanage behind like in her caretaker without really looking back. So she's kind of surprised that suddenly she's like having these second thoughts, even though this is all she's ever wanted. So then when she talks to Belladonna afterwards, she's able to be like, okay, well, I still want to go home, obviously, but maybe there's more she wants to do. Maybe there's more. Like she finally starts to see. I think at this point she's still quite tunnel vision, but she starts to see a little bit more in her peripherals, where she's like, okay, maybe I can still try get home, but like I can enjoy the ride along the way and like meeting these people and like having these experiences that like essentially like other Sky Islanders just wouldn't be able to have. And then I think it all culminates further. Then when she gets to a clug and it's like she finds out all this terrible stuff about her past, and then definitely I think meeting Fogo is so big for her because I think I was saying earlier like I think I started dropping her voice in that session just because it's I guess it's almost like it felt too childish, I guess. Because I think when Alta's around like Fogo, she becomes like, okay, sometimes obviously she's a bit childish with whatever because like she's filled with such like wonder that there's this kid who's like a lot like her, but she just becomes more like an adult when she's around him.
Yeah.
Because she feels so inclined, I guess, to like protect him, and she feels so kind of like I said, she feels like suddenly this guilt because she's been so tunnel visioned on just getting home all this time that she's ignored like everything suspicious about like her past or things that have happened to the people around her because she just has only cared. She's been like essentially super selfish, and which like you can't, I guess, blame her for it, but like that's kind of how she envisions, like she thinks, okay, I've just been selfish like all these years because like all she's wanted to do is get home, and while she's being like focused on that mission and not making any progress on that mission, like so many like kids and people are like all getting hurt.
Yeah.
And then so that like seeing Fogo really like solidifies that for her, I think. So suddenly I guess I think then her like vision like expands even more, and it's becoming more of a thing where like she can't, like, even though she might return to the Sky Islands and she sorts everything out there and she might be able to like sleep and stop having that dream, but she'll just have like new nightmares essentially until she essentially just like figures out what's going on and just kind of like helps make it so like kids like Fogo can just have a nice life, you know?
Yeah, it does. It's nice that it feels like quite a recent thing where she has this sort of like, even though there's such a priority going on, that there's like a question of what happens after I go home.
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
I like almost like the part of the what just happens with D&D dynamics as well. Like you're talking about how she found it so easy to leave the orphanage, but like the orphanage, the point of it was to get her a new place to go. So that was always kind of a thing that she was prepared for. And especially being the only one left going into like her later teens, it's less of a thing of like a little kid finding nowhere to, or like having nowhere to go, and more of it being like it's kind of cramped here and I need to see the world. But like the pirate crew as well is like I joined the crew to make friends and get back to the Sky Islands, but you also like all buy into each other's individual journeys as well, which I think is nice, which makes it harder to say goodbye, or it makes it feel like it would require more for things to feel finished.
No, exactly. I think
That's
if
nice.
like there was, because there's even stuff like Belladonna's like, oh, I need to find out what's happening with this like manufacturing and stuff like that, and then Alta was like, I think Alta was like, oh, we'll look into it, you know. And if she's saying like promises like that, you know what I mean, and then she's just gonna go off and stay at home, I think that would bother her now, just because even though maybe in the past that wouldn't have bothered her because all that she cared about was like seeing her family, but now that that kind of opinion has changed, she would be more inclined, I suppose, to help out. So I'm happy because I feel like, to be fair, it is a little comical when you think about how it basically all happened in like a day.
Yeah.
But if I don't think about how it all happened in a day, I'm pretty happy. I feel like it's
that's all things D&D though.
it's a fairly that exactly. It's like a fairly like natural progression for her that I wasn't expecting, but that I am really happy with. So
it's also a thing, I guess, I was thinking of like, I think all of the characters, maybe Belladonna a little less, whenever they achieve their like goal, it almost feels like all of them have such an incentive to just go home. And I was trying to think of like very early on, how do I make it that it feels like they can have like maybe like one final arc or one last thing before they kind of go home and they try and be at peace with things. And that was sort of like the very obvious BBEG now, which is the Five Elders, where I tried to make it more like these things are awful what has happened to them, but there are similarly awful things that will keep happening so long as these people have this like grip on the world.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a thing of like, you hated one so much, and that is like the weakest one that they don't even consider one of the Five Elders. In my head, it kind of is like there's always a bigger fish thing, but like you can see that there is like, it's kind of the escapism of fantasy where all of these problems can be beaten in as simple terms as like, these are the people at fault. And they're the ones manipulating things. Not like everything here will take 500 years to undo. Everything here is like everyone will need to be unbrainwashed. It's much more like these five guys are fucking assholes. It's like if there's like a crystal that was turning people evil. It's much you want to read like a young adult novel or something like that where your journey is to fucking destroy that crystal rather than be like we're going to go around and we're going to do community work everywhere until everyone gets along. Like, I don't know. I like that nice way of just like wrapping things up easily enough, I guess. And then depending on how the individual arcs go, it would dictate how that stuff in the ending would go, like the shared ending, I guess. Because I think it would also feel weird to end on like Ferrum goes to Zanisha and then stays on Zanisha and everyone else just goes home. You know? It feels much more like we all went to this place to do the thing that we all have stakes in, and then you decide what everyone does, you know? Like, much more of a mission complete type thing than like than anything else. And I also think like if Belladonna takes down Project Forever or something like that, but leaves the people that made it in charge, then like there's always going to be questions of like what happens to the next generation, because these people, they're not aging out, they're not going to die, they're not going to be replaced. There's not really a power vacuum situation. It's just like they're immortal. Maybe they'll wait until Belladonna dies and then they'll probably try and do it again, you know? So
Yeah.
I think for me, I like the Five Elders as like the background villain types, because you really don't need to care about who they are. Like, if none of the PCs give a fuck about talking to any of them, it doesn't really matter, because it'll be like there'll be satisfying fights from it. And there's also, it's a way for it's just a way to have like an interconnected excuse to do things that like it doesn't feel like your character's like, all right, well, I've made it home, I've done all my things, but I'm gonna go kill guys because I want to be strong, you know. In Rust's D&D, one of the characters has this very early goal where all he wants to do is he wants to save his wife and kid that have been kidnapped, and the very first arc he does it, and he realized that he didn't know how long the D&D would be, and he's like, well, my character seems like a dickhead if he leaves now. Like, I saved my wife and kid from slavery. Am I just leaving to go drinking? And he comes up with this last second where he's just like, my character will be more like a villain and will have an obsession with strength that is unhealthy. And I think there's very much a way of just like, why am I not a dickhead for doing the story or playing D&D? You know? And I like that. That's like I was talking about earlier with Angela happening to be just appearing out of nowhere in the session 0 and then being a very natural, like a Belladonna, like a Demetri person is still leading the town without being Belladonna, you know? I think that's nice. I'm going to go run 1D free because I'm out of questions. Hopefully you guys are happy about that.
So's Key.
Oh.
Speaking of.
Yeah, roll to you. D2, guys.
1D Key.
That's a Niamh.
What?
Oh,
this one I forgot how to write a sentence. Genuinely, I like rewrote this like 12 times. I was like, that's not a sentence.
Yeah, are there any past events where you're curious how they might have gone differently depending on your actions? So like, if you played something differently, like a big moment or like a small moment, or like, I guess it's more like my perspective of like what you guys could have found. I talked a little bit about that. I don't know if I told all you guys about like the Logtown stuff, but like, it was very much intended that Roger would go missing on the first day of Logtown and his execution would be the second day. But because the people, because the two people that are in charge of this execution are like changed drastically, like the Admiral Osen guy is gone, but Makia still is living and like can tell you guys are hatching some kind of scheme. He goes ahead with it. There was meant to be a thing of like Marines were arguing with the people of Logtown that were like, Incus had stolen a bunch of their weaponry and had sold it to the merchants, like marine weaponry, and the Marines were going to the merchants and trying to get it back, and like the merchants were making them pay for it to get it back. But it was just causing this whole thing where like the manpower of this island was cut in half because the Marines were unarmed and shit like that. But because Incus was instead busy with this stuff, because he got dragged into things with like the genie as well, that he never did that. So the execution went ahead in the first day. So it wouldn't have been such a time panic. But that was again just like you guys could have gone to different places and find different things. There's going to be stuff inside of Admiral Osen's place. Like you would have been able to find Belladonna's old rifle. Because my idea is that he keeps, he's much more like a bounty hunter as an admiral, where like he keeps track of who he's killed and he takes a memento from each crew that he's slain. And one of which would have been Captain John's sword, which Bravv could have used or something like that, and Belladonna's rifle. So those are some that come on top of my head. I guess past to you guys, is there anything or you guys just want to ponder to each other about what could have happened, or what are some like decisive moments or
Those
split paths
AUs.
and stuff. Yeah, and I will try and answer the best I can if it involves me.
I mean, my only one was that, again, with Admiral Ozen, how would it have gone if we like tried to do a bit more of a long con with him and didn't off him immediately? But like, I don't know how it would have gone, because my only plan was that like, oh, I want to haunt him and like spook him.
Mhm.
But like, aside from that, I actually don't know how that would have went. And like what else we could have done with him, because I feel like eventually it would have ended up with him dying anyway. So I can't imagine that it would be that crazy.
Yeah. He was definitely intended to be more like a marine celebrity, where like he's not like some big hero. Like in the canon story, there's very much the title of hero is referring to just like anyone that goes above and beyond and is a very rare thing. And I like to think he has like similar fame, but more so just because he's a person who like he'll kill someone in front of someone in a flashy way, or he'll make like a display of it, and he does a lot of it for fun, and he'll make a game out of like filling an island with poison gas and like watching people run and stuff and like recording it. It's much more of like a strike fear into the heart of pirates thing, and like a lot of people would be turned off by that, but a lot of people who like the idea of like people who like watching like violent videos online anonymously, or like a lot of people are like publicly very like against that, but really love seeing pirates being massacred, you know. So that was going to be just the idea.
Sort of like a pirates don't count situation.
Yeah, like it's sort of just like, oh well, fair enough to these guys, you know, they gambled, they didn't know they were going to get caught by a marine, but this is what happens, you know. So yeah, I guess to him it would have just been that he was kind of like washed up, and it wasn't like going to be some climactic battle you could have for revenge, which is kind of the idea. That like it had been so long since Belladonna had been killed by him, or mostly killed by him. But yeah, I think that was just the idea. Was just that it was meant to be a bit unsatisfactory for Belladonna in universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just gonna be that, and then also that he was. I kind of intended it that he was very easily like manipulatable. Rather than he would manipulate you guys. It was just like, you happen to be reporting to this guy who has got incredible clout within the Marines, and he gives you your missions, but also like, if he give you a mission and you were like, actually, you told us yesterday that it was meant to be this mission, he would probably change the paperwork and just did what you said, you know? Just meant to be this guy that really lost his mind and was quite easygoing, but had a lot of sway. So in my mind, the big thing that I was thinking in the back of my head was like, if you guys accepted the Marine offer, if you guys kept manipulating this guy, you could very much be a warlord on your own terms. Or like the missions you had to do, you could decide for yourself if you tricked this guy. That was probably the greatest purpose that I could picture him having in the campaign. It wouldn't be he was a threat, really. Is there anything else you guys have in mind?
I know I asked the question, but I'm like, what was I cooking? What did I want to know? How would Alta have been able to find out a lot more about her backstory sooner if Bravv hadn't cut Gyro in half?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because I would be like, I'm gonna talk to this girl.
A big thing about Gyro was that she was meant to be also showing that like she had an interest in like the fairy tale stuff. Obviously, was more of like a thing she was kind of hiding, but she was still using it as a theme, like almost like an ironic thing of like, oh yeah, I'm the big bad wolf, I'm gonna call the divisions this. But she also has like a very real, sincere love of it that would make her seem childish. And I think that her only other aspect of like her reading love would be into history. So that was why they had like this poneglyph there that she was trying to decipher, and it was like a big deal whenever Bravv had these glasses that could decipher it immediately. But she was like studying and trying for ages to figure it out. And the implication was going to be that she knew about the one, or that Incus had told her about the one that you used to run into, which told a little bit about the Sky Islanders at like the place where Ferrum got his devil fruit. So her goal would have been, if she got out of that, was either to ask Bravv to take her there, because she had more knowledge about like the Sky Islanders, and like because she knows about it from her dad, but also she wanted to learn more of like the true history because she knew that it wasn't all there, you know. So the idea would have been that she would have wanted to go for that poneglyph next, and translated for her own purposes, but like if you guys ended on better terms, would have also had no reason not to help, you know?
Oops.
It's all guys. You guys did still like learn it, but I guess that was like very out of context. It was more just like I think there was hints about like robot stuff, like the robots came from up high, and that there was also like it was more like there was hieroglyphs about Sky Islanders rather than like specific like wording about their history.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was more so going to be her thing, where she would be like a big history buff as like a trade, and I guess also the implication is just that the only reason that she's a good fighter is because, much like her brother, she was heavily into like heavily brought into the cypherpole world of like being an assassin. It's just she kind of, I kind of wanted to keep it more vague. That it was like either did she get out, did she escape, or was it more that she had privilege as like this rich person who's a marine benefactor's, you know, sir, he's her daughter. Could she have said no? So her goal was very much going to be like, I want to decipher the poneglyphs to learn about like the truth of what my dad is lying about, because I can tell he's lying about something, you know. And also I want to like learn what happened to my brother, because all she really knows is that her brother has gone missing, and she doesn't necessarily know what was the deal with that, but like she knows that her dad probably has something to do with it because he's just shady in general. And also that like in messages they would have to each other, he would be very vague. He'd be like, oh, he picked his own path, he did this, and like would not give an answer. So I guess those were going to be her main goals, and she would have taught more about the poneglyph stuff. And a funny thing about like the gyro temple thing, I don't know if you guys remember, but I described like these free gods, and that was actually going to be a Bravv thing where that was like his weapons and stuff. I played it as like he's more like accidentally important to the lore of these like gods or whatever. That like he would have these free weapons eventually, or he could run into them or accidentally stumble into them they would more coincide with him, and he would gain a lot more power to like control them or like witness these gods. But it's kind of become a thing now where I'm like, well, if he's gone, and also like I don't think he was really all that into the history stuff of it, I just kind of made it to like, okay, there's one god that matters a lot. You know, like there's the sea god, and that's the one that is very relevant to like, because it's the one relevant to the 5 elders, so not much else matters.
Yeah,
that
I just remember
tidbit about that
I took
temple.
gyro getting chopped in half very badly. At the time, I recall.
Yeah, I remember like saying like I was gonna ask her things at the end. But yeah, little fun fact for you
Crazy
guys.
info exchange.
But I had to rewatch. But yeah, Gyro's body went missing, and also you guys left what do you call it? You left beans in there, and I'm gonna let you guys know now what those beans did.
Oh my God.
Live.
New info?
Oh my god, we do need to take notes.
This comes up at the quiz.
What did the beans do? So you would have had to have rolled, I think you did roll a 1d6, so it would be 1d6 plus 6 amount of these creatures would appear, and they're called shriekers, and they're these little mushrooms that look like normal mushrooms, but whenever you get near them, they scream loud as hell. So that's why I described that whenever you guys closed the door and walked away for a bit, you heard so much screaming indoors, and you guys were like, fuck it, we're leaving, and you never looked back. It would have just been these plants would have, they scream incredibly loud, and the idea is that they draw in, like, fauna, or they upset, like, the local wildlife or whatever, but they're not really, like, combat things. So they're funny because they can be, like, the ultimate distraction, but they can also give away your position. And they don't stop screaming until you kill each individual one, and you kind of have to, like, take time hitting them because they have a decent amount of HP. So I think they're funny, just screaming mushrooms.
So did like the mushrooms eat her, or like?
No, the mushrooms just screamed, but like they're not like things that would hurt her or anything.
Well, she was. It's kind of hard to hurt her. I think she was.
Well, you know, they couldn't interact. They're just mushrooms that yell. I just thought the implication was like it sounded so much more horrific as like you close the door and you hear screaming. I just thought it was kind of funny that it was just like, especially because I think they'd mentioned that like her body had gone missing, and like they'd seen something had happened with you guys. But I also just like they went there and they'd probably seen the mushrooms, like her workers, and were like, yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about, the screaming. Like if you mentioned it, they just wouldn't know what you're talking about because they would have stopped screaming by then. Yeah, that's about it.
How many more questions do we have left, actually?
I think like 3, 2.
2, 3. Oh my god, they're all Avary questions,
3?
are they?
Oh, they
all Avary questions? I
are.
think they are.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right, Avery,
Hey.
let's go.
Guys.
All right, has there
You have to read them out
been
loud.
any particular fun interactions between the crew you remember fondly?
They've all been so bad. Like,
No, I have a
I hate
shit
talking
ton
to those
that I just
motherfuckers.
I have a shit ton that I just absolutely adore.
oh.
I feel like most, like, I love the one where, like, what was it? I love the hot air balloon one. Fruity Doctor,
Of course, classic.
of course. I have a particular fondness for when they were at the Leechlands and Alta was like, I gave Alta a new dress. I love, like, Ferrum coming out to everybody. And, like, I also really like, it was way back in Oberu where we went shopping. And it was, like, everybody going shopping together. And it was, like, Ferrum was, like, buying food. And Ferrum was like, I don't think that's how much that is.
The one time Ferrum learned how to do math. Actually, no,
Ferrum
you're
and
ripping
money
us
is
off.
so funny. The camera thing killed me with Ferrum.
Everything in the Leechlands, I absolutely adore. I loved, like, teaching Bravv some manners and then Bravv and Ferrum practicing their manners.
Yeah, the
That's so
handshaking
cute.
and stuff.
I fucking love all of that.
I have one I'm gonna throw in, which is the in the clock tower. Whenever you guys were talking to the guy that was guarding the clock tower, and Belladonna had to give the signal to knock the guy out, but you guys didn't
So
decide the
good.
signal, and so she just karate jumped there, and Anna was like, "The fuck was that?" And then Ferrum starts doing karate himself, and is like, "Oh, you're like learning how to do this." I thought that was really funny.
Incredible.
You need to bring it back in front of Alta sometime, because I don't know what it is either. And it'll all go back in.
Yeah, because you agreed that the karate chop would be your motion going forward, but Alta still doesn't know.
Yeah.
That was incredible. I love
I
that.
forgot
as
about
well.
that. That's so funny.
I forgot about that.
It's so good.
I think, like, all interactions between, like, Adwa and Alta has been pretty cute as well. In, like, Adwa going through the same thing that Alta's going through, and that, like, regretting that she hasn't gone back to these, like, kids in the orphanage, and that, like, she's just kind of been ignoring that this has been happening in favor for her own goals and stuff. And it's like, man, them two just being like, shit.
Yeah.
we came from a fucked up place, huh?
I also like the difference of Alta having a place to be and she's actively working on it, but is like not seeing the more disastrous effects of what is surrounding her heading home and why she's not home and stuff like that, and like where she's been. And then Adwa having like the angst of being like, oh, like it. I've also like they're mostly doing this on the outside of a clog. It's not just in here. But that means that this has been happening for like 50 years old. This has been happening for like 500 years, you know? For like everyone
Yeah.
else. That's like a lot of people to add to like a pile in her head. Odd was one of those characters where I knew that she would have a lot in common with Alta, but I kind of like, I always wonder, is there like a personality mismatch? Is like, will they end up talking about it? So I was glad that they got talking about it and got
Yeah,
it
no,
across.
it's really good.
Yeah.
I also liked any interaction with Dowdy and us, and just how much we hated Dowdy. And how
Him and Robert
pathetic he
Rifle are
was.
the ultimate like screen time low. It feels like impact was
Impact
high.
high.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No. My fake dad's screen time is about to go through the roof. When he didn't show up at the circus, that was genuinely like felt that.
He's a deadbeat, a fake deadbeat.
He went out to get cigarettes. I don't know. So.
no, he's a real deadbeat fake dad.
True.
True.
That's the thing.
Not necessarily between the crew, but also the Incas Ferrum stuff has been some of my favorites, especially on the
Oh
clock.
yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
very
those so cute.
I also like having someone get like the most clear signals and ignoring it or like not seeing it. It's like I know that Ferrum fucks with me now, but like, do they like me? I'll never know.
And
I
also, they
always
get
think
to go on a
that's funny.
Ferris wheel date. That's the most like,
Yeah.
oh
Ferris
god, it's the most
wheel.
like stereotypical shippy thing, but like it's so good. For a
Yeah.
reason.
It is. I didn't even realize at first because I had a Ferris wheel in the plans, but I'm like, where are they going to go on their date? They're going to eat candy floss,
Yep.
and then they're going to talk.
Done.
That's it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess like I think we rolled for it. And they did just end up at the
It
Ferris
was
wheel as well.
it was pure chance,
Yeah.
which is so funny.
I have to say as well, when Onda, between Belladonna and Onda, like one of the first nights that we had Onda on our crew, he like came to Belladonna and was like talking about how he used to do carpentry, and she like tried to teach him first aid. Oh, and the surgery on Calico.
Oh shit!
That was a great
yeah.
moment.
Learned medicine.
Yes.
So good.
That's so helpful to us. That's probably her luckiest moment that she learned medicine
Yeah.
proficiency, and now has +9. And has had to do a lot of stabilization checks, so that was really good.
Yeah, that was peak. Yeah, I just love like the really small interactions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I as much as I really like the balloon, the hot air balloon moment, because like that was such a defining character moment for both of us, I think. I just have a soft spot for all the really like small cute moments of just like, can you teach me this? Can you hang out with me?
Aw.
He would not say that.
All right, so that I can let's Oh, I don't have any more. I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I like also that the Incus Ferrum date stuff. I always think is cute because I like playing Incus as a way like that. Like he's not. I'm trying to make him quite like a tropey guy, but like you can't always tell exactly what he's gonna do. I guess as the goal. So I like the idea that like he obviously wants a Ferris wheel date because that's like the tropey way, and that's like the easiest way to be like it sets the mood. They're gonna be thinking, they're gonna be looking at my eyes, but then also he's like, but I can't. I'm very scared of it being sincere, so I have to be like, haha, I want to troll everyone and fucking
Yes,
set
make
this
the
thing
wheel
up.
go
Like Ferrum, do you want to go to a restaurant and like as a date? And then Ferrum is like, yes, and he's like, oh, they took that too sincere. To set it on fire, like I feel like that's how he approaches, like he cuts the tension. So I think that's kind of funny.
I love
yeah.
any interaction that starts with Belladonna overhearing Ferrum and Alta talking. It's so funny.
What are they doing?
God, I love that. That's like a new dynamic that we have. That's just like, oh, the children are scheming.
What are they up to?
It's like I remember seeing a post about like a parent saying that like everybody thinks as a parent that like silence is like a golden moment, but that's when you should be the most terrified.
Something's coming.
Something's coming.
Might
like,
be
the
17
worst-
sticks of dynamite. You don't know.
Or like the worst thing you can hear as a mother is, "Mom, look what I did." I just feel like that's a thing for Belladonna now, where it's like she's gonna hear Ferrum and Alta come up one day with like a big smile on their faces, and she's just like, "Oh God, what did they do?" It's either going to be really good or really bad.
Up next is what lore reveal / character reveal surprised you the most? That's an interesting.
I think you guys know with me what it was. I think you guys know.
Enlighten the audience.
Well, hold on. Let me see if I can find the meme I drew real quick.
Oh, the
Of
thumbnail.
course,
Yeah.
the thumbnail. That was so good.
I remember
You
where
were
I
losing
was.
your mind. It was so funny. Exactly on the
was.
beach of the
That was like
beach
at
where you
the
lost your
end.
mind.
That was at the end of the session as well. And I
Yeah.
love the fact
Yeah,
that, like,
I know.
it's-
And you speed drew it so fast.
Where is it? Hold on.
I just remember the way you spoke with it. You were like, and that means As you were like
The
bouncing
fucking
between the
thing.
photos.
That means
The
the
thing,
thing.
the fucking thing.
The fucking thing. I posted that in general instead of images. Funny. Sorry.
Banned.
But yeah, I was like, but wait, then that means, but the thing,
no!
but no,
It
but
was so good.
wait.
You were canceling out your own thoughts.
I was. That's
So
how you
quickly.
know. That's like that is what my brain always feels like, just like at its base level. Like if you guys ever wanted a proper explanation of what ADHD is, it was that moment.
What about Avery and Niamh, any lore / character reveals that you remember that you liked?
I'm trying to think of something that stands out to me particularly. I don't think I had a. See, it's kind of hard, I think, to follow that because I don't think I had. No, sorry. This is ridiculous. I did have a character reveal that made me react like that. What am I saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I didn't see it coming. You know,
I get you, yeah.
and evil Alta was not something I anticipated. You know, I was surprised.
Comes around and says you're a colorful bunch.
Them Skittles. Oh my god. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was surprised that Ottawa was from the same. I mean, this is obviously way less of a oh my god kind of thing. But I was kind of surprised to find out that they had similar backstories because I think I brought it up first, as far as I know. Like I was just yapping about it, as Alta
Yeah.
does, you know. And then she was like, "Oh yeah, that happened to me too," and Alta was like, "What?"
Yeah. That was definitely one of those
Just
things where
coincidentally,
like, the character might not have ever mentioned that, you know?
yeah, exactly. On the very first meeting, Alta just
Yeah.
decided to start yapping about it.
All that kind of stuff. What about you, Avery? And Instacart?
I wrote that question thinking about Belladonna's parents, but honestly, Squeven was kind of a fucking jump scare, man. I don't know. Like,
There.
Because he was just in the jar for so
yeah,
long.
like
Yeah.
I forgot, but yeah.
Oh,
fact that-
yeah.
That's
There's
stuff.
like, I have one of the Five Elders'
yeah,
mouths
Brackish's
in my
fucking
pocket.
mouth. Like,
Yeah.
The Bravv's glasses being able to read the poneglyphs, that was a crazy drop for me. I was like,
Yeah, I remember that was quite early
I
on.
was
I
like-
think it was like you ran
yeah,
into one.
I was like,
And then it was
"What?"
just, Bravv was like, yeah, I can read that. So shame.
Probably the whole ancient minx two hearts
Oh,
thing. That's
Oh,
pretty
right,
big.
You let me eat your heart.
Widow Willie,
Did
would
you
you
let
let
me
me?
So
eat your
funny.
heart?
Okay, but he would though. So like
Yeah,
Romance.
woohoo! I love that.
romance / midnight snack.
I love cannibalism as an act of
As a
love.
metaphor of romance,
Hooray!
yeah. Also, this is small, but I do like that you finally got Alta's like thief cant into like an actual thing that she
Oh,
has,
yeah.
Yeah.
like being able to read those ciphers. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, Thieves' Cant's always something that
that's
just
a
like
real thing she has as a rogue.
it's always one of those things where it feels like to use Thieves' Cant you have to be like a specific type of rogue as well. So
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to repurpose it even if it doesn't show up as much as it would as like a typical 5e like campaign thing, I guess.
I'm sure she can still intercept some letters, Evan. You know
Oh,
I fiend for
love a
letters.
letter.
Give me more letters.
Love a letter.
Something else that I just remembered as like something I had originally wanted for Belladonna, and this is like such a small thing. I originally wanted Angela being an alligator to be a surprise. I wanted
Oh,
to keep that
shit.
a secret. I wanted to keep that as secret, but then it just slipped out in session 2 when I was arguing with this woman. Because she was like, the gators kicked me out, they're stupid. And I was like, don't you dare disrespect my sister, you bitch!
I remember that, yeah.
That's good. It's like character. It's in character anyway, so like it's
Yeah.
Last one is Hypest Moment. So, not necessarily related to your character or anything. What do you think is the Hypest Moment?
God, I had one in my head 2 seconds ago and I can't remember what I had.
I think mine is the series of unfortunate events at the end of that Machia fight, man. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
So much had to go right, and it was crazy sitting through it in the moment because it was like what, like 2 nat 20s and something
It
else.
was,
Like, it was crazy.
awful to watch.
Like, I remember having to lie down after that session. Like, it was
Yeah,
insane.
it was like a head in hands kind of.
I think the image of Roger standing up to make his last stand of his sword and then going, wait, and then doing CPR on someone instead is really funny. Yeah, it was insane. Alta also got up on the nat 20, I remember that.
Did she? Oh my god.
Yeah, she got up on that 20. And then whenever you were like looking at
Right
everyone
back
making the
down.
death saves.
Oh yeah, that was after, and then I could jump down, and then I jumped down and did like CPR on Ferrum despite being feeble-minded. It was crazy
Yeah.
because medicine was like is like wisdom.
Yep.
So even though she was stupid, she could like perform crazy surgery.
Yeah. I remember what it was I thought of. For me, probably not the hypest moment, but one that comes to mind was in the Leechlands when we were having the fights against the zombies, Angela showing up. Because she was just an absolute beast in that fight. And I was so
remember
excited.
because I was spooked about how that zombie would work, but I was rolling for both the big zombie and Angela to see when they would show up, and I think they showed up at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So those were both like monsters from like they're super high CR, but they'll also cancel each other out a little bit. CR stuff they would not like to see how I play around with that shit. Like CR 13 or some shit. You guys are like level 6. I don't remember.
Yo.
We were level 7. I got evasion.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Didn't use it once. I was so excited to have evasion for that fight. I don't think it ever came in.
Let me look actually. What CR was he?
Devastating.
Yeah, 13. CR 13. So a team of 4 little 13s would have been the intended.
We were so strong and brave. But yeah. I see. Then I again, it's like my self-centered recency bias. But I mean, like we've spoken about this. Also, was aura farming at that circus.
Oh, that was a great. I think like that. Though, like the highs of Alta performing so well at the circus, and then like them being like, "It is time for the big finale," and it's like the thing you would want to do least, and Alta managing to salvage it and make it like something worthwhile and something that would take her a step forward is very good.
Yeah, I'm just so happy she like had the sway to be like, actually, I don't think I want to participate in this like play. You know, spelling out exactly what did not happen in history, and then she got to do her dumbass, you know, I break through the bubble kind of bullshit.
That was cool. I liked it.
Make her speech, so I think it was big for her. I think, yeah, I mean, Hypest Moment, I think, can probably get conflated with, I think, wins as well. But I think
Yeah.
the Makia one's a good idea because it was so we're so over for so long.
Again, that slow you got on Makia, that was a hype moment.
Yeah, I think again, it's always just this kind of like, oh, it's so over, we're so back.
Yeah.
And those two are great examples, I think, of that.
I definitely think there's a lot of our hype moments is not necessarily like, yes, this is going so well, and more like, thank God.
Yeah, I'm sure a couple of the card pulls in Logtown were like that. Like if you think about it, it's crazy. Like that one invisible like mink whatever picked the card that lets them stop time or something like that.
Oh my god.
And without it,
yeah.
like would we have like that was essentially what the entire plan to steal Roger was based off of.
Yeah.
You know, so I know the cards were a big problem, but I think they did give us some crazy stuff. Oh, and then remember Bravv got we got our action surges.
Yeah.
True.
Did you guys use any of them yet?
I
haven't
did
because I keep forgetting I have them.
I had to use mine last time because I think it was just the dragons. Just looking back,
I used mine on the dragons. Yeah.
Yeah, I burned down the dragons, but like stuff like that, like Bravv could use them there and like get them moving.
I keep forgetting that I have them, so I haven't used any yet.
I think it's just one you have.
Yeah, it was. He had
Yeah, one of each.
5, and then he used
5.
2 escaping.
Why?
And then,
Where am I looking? Where would I keep? Oh, they're in my inventory.
and then we distributed 3. He must have. I guess he forgot he had them versus Makia because maybe we could have used them there.
I remember he said he didn't want to use them against Makia because like melee fighters were worse against him. Because like
That's fair.
the aura around him that made him just like let you not take a turn was rough. I don't think Bravv got to hit him very often at all.
That's so fair. It was
He might have hit him,
they
like,
were
once.
mostly in the meat shield kind of a
Yeah.
business.
Very sorry, guys.
Listen, not
You
everyone
got
has
us
to
out
glamorous,
alive.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, guys, we are done questions. If you still would not mind, I'm going to go to the bathroom and we can do the quiz after.
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
I would-
I'll BRB as well.
Lock in, guys.